Hi there, this is Jeremy D. Cuevas, and you are watching or listening to Podium Time episode 100, which was a live stream extravaganza to celebrate our 100th episode and raise money for the Project Conclusion Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. This is not a typical episode of Podium Time, and there's a lot of different stuff in here, so check out the time codes in the show notes or the description, and feel free to jump around. For about the first hour, we are sharing clips with some of our from some of our past guests and from some of our early conducting days. We also talked about the history of Podium Time, and we took some questions from the live audience. After that, we featured some of your favorite past guests and took some live Q&A. Those guests were Thomas Taylor Dickey, Kevin No, Carolyn Watson, Tito Muñoz, and Brett Mitchell. After that, we premiered a new interview with Chicago Sinfonietta music director Mayan Chen about the program and more. I took that out of this episode since the full interview will be hitting the podcast feed as episode 101. Finally, at the end, Luke and I shared the remainder of the clips from our past guests, and we took some more Q&A, including sharing our desert island pieces. So please enjoy this very special episode, and please make a donation to the Project Inclusion Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. The website is chicagosinfonietta.org/donate. We'll also have that link in the description and show notes below. And now, on to the show. Okay. But we're here. I mean, we are doing. We've been shared, we've been liked. There are a couple people watching, which is pretty cool. Luke's pouring his coffee, which is also pretty warm.
Needed.
Yeah. We're just going to chat here for a couple minutes while people get the notification and while Facebook gets people viewing the live stream. We're at 10 people. That's twice my goal for today. I have a very, very low goal of 5 people because I'm just here to have fun. And 12 people, wow. And let us know where you are. Let us know who you are and where you are in the comments. We'll be watching those on and off today, taking some questions. Yeah, absolutely. Like, share, comment. Let us know who you are. We're going to be taking questions through the whole day, especially during the live Q&As, but in this whole beginning hour as well. Let's see. Yeah, we're raising money for Chicago Sinfonietta, and there should be a link somewhere on the page, and I don't see it, so I wonder where it is.
Jeremy, can you, if you put the link in the actual live stream feed on Facebook, you can pin, I'm pretty sure you can pin that post at the top of the chat.
Let me do that. I mean, chicagosinfonietta.org/donate. So let me double put it in there. Okay. Pin. There we go, you're right. See? First time for everything.
Wait, I'm not seeing it on my second screen here.
Yeah, I just posted it. There's a little bit of lag between what we see in the comments and everything.
Oh.
Hope at Oklahoma State, one of Thomas's students.
Oh.
Hey, Wesley. I feel like I've been seeing Wesley on Facebook a lot recently. Welcome to the Podium Time live stream. We're very excited to be here. For those of you just joining, this is Podium Time, the podcast, and we are celebrating 100 episodes of the podcast. We started back in August 2017, so that's also 3.5 crazy years.
We've come a long way. Think about some of those early recordings we did
that
we really struggled with.
But Joanne's first episode is still one of our most popular, and it's still a great episode. Thanks to her, no thanks to us, because we did not know what we were doing. And we're also raising money for the Chicago Sinfonietta Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship. This is a fantastic fellowship that they have, and we're going to have an interview later on with Mayan Chen that I recorded on Wednesday with her. We're going to talk about the fellowship, what their students learn, who should be applying, what they're looking for in applicants, and really what's so important about this fellowship. Their first conductor that went through was Roderick Cox, whom we've had on the podcast. He went on to be the assistant conductor at Minnesota Orchestra for a couple of years and is now, performing all over the world. So the link doesn't seem to be anywhere that I can see it, but we've pinned it at the top of the comments, that link to donate. So please head over and do that. Just send a little bit. It's going to be the first one is Project Inclusion. Then if you put in honor of Podium Time or something like that, they'll know to put it to the Conducting Fellowship.
Jeremy.
Yes.
It's not here. Do you see what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, it's not. It's not on mine.
I'm not getting any comments either, which I feel like. Hold on, I think we may have had another mistake.
You're not seeing comments. I've got comments. Hi, Teresa. Teresa, we met in. Did we meet in Bulgaria last year? Was that it? I know we know each other in person. Oh, my mom's here. Hello, Mother, from Springfield, Missouri.
Well, you called that one.
And Robert from Rolla, Missouri. I haven't heard the words Rolla, Missouri in a couple of years. I thought so, Teresa. Well, welcome to the live stream. So we're going to be just having some couple of fun for this first hour. One thing I did was I reached out to all of our old guests. We have 100 episodes, so it was something like 75, 80 people. And just asked, hey, would you send us a little video or a little audio or a little bit of text to share? So we're going to start sharing some of those, and I'm going in alphabetical order by first name. So let me pull up the first one, and so this first little video we have is from Adam Torres, who is a good friend of mine here. Let me make sure this is going to work. Does this work? Nope, that's not what I'm looking to share. Let me just share my entire screen. Bam, bam, Adam Torres. Here we go. So Adam is a good friend of mine from Denver. He studied at the same program that I studied at a couple years. He was featured in episode 7, which was a while ago. And this is when we did a Mendelssohn 5 concert for I think it was the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther's. So Adam joined us for that, and here's a little bit of message from him. Also, he's been doing a lot of video content, so he's got this really cool video set up with his stuff here. So here's Adam. Let me rewind that a little bit.
Congratulations to Podium Time on its 100th episode. Thank you for all of the amazing work that you do in putting this show together. The guests that you bring in are invaluable resources, and the musical and technical insights are just wonderful. I can't wait to see the next 100 episodes for Podium Time and to see the continued growth of this worthy project.
Awesome.
I'm not hearing anything, Jeremy.
Oh, you didn't hear anything? Darn. Oh, I must have not done. Did you see it?
I see it.
You see it? Okay, let me try that again. We thought this was working.
Congratulations to Podium Time on its 100th episode. Thank you for all of the amazing work that you do in putting this show together. The guests that you bring in are invaluable resources, and the musical and technical insights are just wonderful. I can't wait to see the next 100 episodes for Podium Time and to see the continued growth of this worthy project.
Oh, good. Well, the people in the comments are saying they can hear it, so that's a good sign. Yeah, so that was Adam, very, very good friend of mine, very good friend of ours. Again, works in the Denver area here with me. We also got a lot of messages to read aloud, so I'm going to share one from our early conducting teacher. Just before Adam, this is episode 6 from Conducting Doesn't Get Easier with Dr. Christopher Keltz, who teaches at Missouri State. Dr. Keltz was our conducting teacher for 1 year, and Luke did his master's with him. Dr. Keltz says, I want to congratulate Podium Time on its 100th episode. What you're doing for the craft is extremely valuable. Conductors from all over the world are getting an insight into the minds, ideas, and inspirations that drive our respective love of music and its process. I'm very proud of Jeremy and Luke. I wish Podium Time a continued pursuit of the craft and 100 more episodes. Congratulations. Thank you so much, Dr. Keltz. I think he said he has auditions, so he couldn't be with us today. But that's our message from Dr. Keltz. And then the other thing we're going to be sharing in this first hour, along with these videos and messages, are a couple very early conducting videos from myself and Luke. let's start. Well, let's see. My order. We've got a couple. Luke, what should we start with? Should we start with your very first one, and then we can share Gary's message?
Yep.
Okay, so let me get this pulled up. I know this is very amateur, sharing my entire screen. So why don't you tell us about this real quick?
Well, this is the Missouri State University Horn Ensemble. When I started realizing I kind of wanted to get into conducting, Jeremy suggested I start working with smaller groups, and so I got with my horn professor, Dr. Lisa Casey, and she allowed me to choose a piece for our horn ensemble, and then, of course, work with the ensemble throughout the semester on it. And I follow a page called Horn People on Facebook, and I found this beautiful piece called Mountain Spires that I never heard before, and I wanted to do it. And we wound up having a really great time. This was before I was studying with Dr. Keltz, so I just took some kind of private, really basic conducting lessons with one of the teachers there at MSU at the time. And yeah, it's not pretty.
Okay, let's watch it.
But the piece is beautiful, and if you are a horn player and you have a horn ensemble and you're looking for some repertoire, it's really fun. It's really enjoyable to play, and it's pretty accessible too. So
okay, perfect.
Oh man, this rebound is nuts.
Dr. Keltz right there, whose statement we just read. Awesome. Yeah, again, that was a piece by Gary Crow. Yes, Luke.
Well, I'm looking at the stream on my end, but again, I don't know if it's fine for them, but on my end, the video quality was not great.
It looks okay on my computer. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We're definitely still learning. Oh, and hey there, Sarah Ioannidis has joined us. Sarah, I took a workshop with Sarah from Cascade, and she sent us a message as well that we'll get to later. Thanks so much, Sarah. And Laura Grant from Massachusetts. Welcome, Laura. Oh, and Matt Salvaggio is here, who also has a statement for us. Awesome. So now that we've played this piece by Gary, let's actually go to a message that Gary sent us. Let me make sure I know where that is before I show the dirty laundry of my computer. Here we go.
Hey, Luke and Jeremy. This is Gary Quo. Congratulations to you both on 100 episodes of Podium Time. I had a lot of fun talking about my work as a composer and meeting you after all of this time. So, good job. And here's to another 100 episodes.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Sorry if I've got some clicking on my side. I'm trying to get make sure that I can also look and comment, because now my comment page is not working. Oh, maybe. Anyway, yeah. So that was Gary and Dr. Keltz in the background and Luke conducting. Let's see. Well, Sarah's here. Let's read her comment. Let me find it. Here we go. So yeah, again, we had Sarah Ioannidis on the podcast very recently, a couple weeks ago, in episode 97. After I did the Cascade conducting Conductors on Hold workshop, and then we made we took a couple extras with that. And we made a longer video on their YouTube as well. So again, Sarah was on episode 97, and she says, Podium Time provides a great resource for both students of conducting and those in and entering the profession. Conductors rarely have the opportunity to gather, and this resource gives an opportunity for sharing, as well as the diverse approaches on being on the podium and the multiple pathways that lead to success in a trying and complex industry. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being on the podcast, for teaching your workshops. I've got a bug flying around, excuse me. And for your support, as always. Alrighty. Let's talk about the history of Podium Time a little bit. Stupid bug. I got it. I should go wash my hands. Luke, why don't you talk about the history of Podium Time briefly while I go wash my hands, because I just smashed a bug.
Okay. Well, the origins of it really started with Jeremy. We went to, after we graduated from our undergrad, before we started pursuing our master's degrees, Jeremy had taken a course at Bard over a summer. It was a couple weeks, kind of an introduction to conducting for the workshop there. And he just kept talking about how amazing it was and how I should go. And we went, and there was just so much to learn, and so many different views and ideas and approaches to things. And we just got talking about how there's really, outside of going to workshops and directly working with conductors, you don't really get to see a lot of different viewpoints or hear a lot of different approaches to, multiple topics that typically don't get discussed. And so it was actually Jeremy's idea originally. He was like, I really think we should do a podcast about conducting. And honestly, at the time, I had no idea what a podcast even was. So he basically clued me in and got me listening to podcasts, and I kind of fell in love with the idea. And we got it set up the summer before he left for Colorado to pursue his master's. We started by just getting everything together, lining up some guests, and we were able to do a couple in-person interviews there at the beginning where we actually got to sit together. But for the most part, the podcast has grown, even, though Jeremy and I rarely see each other and we're hundreds of miles apart. It's kind of worked out really well. It's grown a lot more than we thought it would, for sure, and we've gotten a lot of great responses. And of course, being able to talk to some of these amazing conductors who otherwise I probably would have never had the opportunity to talk to and get to know has been really rewarding. I've learned so much just beyond even just the general conversations that we have in the podcast. There's those side topics and side discussions that we have that kind of don't even make it into the cut. There's so much there, and sometimes I question, like, oh man, are we gonna have enough things to talk about? Conducting it's just conducting. Everybody does the same thing. But then as we continued to interview more and more conductors, it became pretty evident that while there are similarities and things that, some people might do the same, for everything that somebody else is doing something completely different. And what works with one ensemble is, it's not going to work over here. And you really start to see those big picture things come in and realize just the amount of variety that you have as a conductor and the ability to really approach things uniquely and in your own way.
Oh yeah. I worry all the time, like, oh my god, are we gonna have enough stuff to talk about? But there's always too much to talk about. We never have enough time.
Yeah, we always wind up usually having to cut the conversation a little short. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's not really short, but we just have to cut the conversation because it's gone too long.
Oh no, we could record for hours with every episode, but then we get to the hour and a half, and it's like, okay, this is getting too long. So unfortunately, there's too much about conducting to talk about. Thanks for giving me a chance to wash my hands. I think I got my page up over here. I've got another computer down here. All right, and I saw that John Maria has joined us as well. So welcome, John Maria. We've got a video from John Maria as well. John Maria was one of our teachers at the Bard Conductors Institute, which we talk about a lot on the podcast because our first 20 guests we met there. A lot of our longtime friends, and I think one of the videos we're going to show this morning, maybe I'll show it right after this, was from Bard. John Maria has been on twice, back in episode 18, If You Miss a Cue, and then more recently on episode 75, How to Boost Rehearsals with Effective Conducting Gesture. John Maria had a online conducting course come out about a year ago, I think. And then he regularly does these videos on YouTube called Conducting Pills, and they're fantastic. Really good analysis of pieces with conducting tips. So definitely go check those out. I actually get those notifications on my phone whenever a new conducting pill comes out. So let me find the video from John Maria. Here it is. And let's play his video. And you'll see he's got a whole studio set up. Let's see. Here we go.
If you're a young conductor in the early stages of your career, you should listen to Podium Time. And if you're in the middle or more of your career, you should listen to Podium Time just as well. I'm Jeremy Grillo. I'm a conductor, and I met Jeremy and Luke a few years ago at Bard College, upstate New York. They were just starting out with a podcast that in a short span of time claimed its spot as a beacon in the plethora of podcasts you can find out there. Podium Time is a resource. It's full of humor, irony, and the sharing of those real-life situations by so many conductors that you don't get in school. So, congratulations to both Jeremy and Luke for keeping this up for all of us. A big thank you. Happy 100th episode, Podium Time, and I look forward to the next 100 episodes. Ciao!
Awesome. Thank you so much, John Maria.
He says he in the comments he remembers that summer very well.
Well, we do too.
And that wound up being the last year for that workshop, wasn't it?
Unfortunately, yeah. Oh shoot, my comments are not coming up. So Luke, you'll have to watch the comments. They're not working on my screen now.
Well, I've got them.
Yeah, so say hi to anybody else that joins. Please let us know who you are and where you're from, and we're going to continue. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so let's show a Bard video of one of my embarrassing early conducting videos. This was actually the week after John Maria was there, when we were there with Lawrence Galan. So we'll show his video next as well. And we were doing the Rock Second Symphony, the slow movement. Is that the second movement, right, or the third movement?
That's the third movement.
The third, so it's the slow movement, and I had the big climax at the end of it, and I wasn't doing enough passion for him, so, and I had my ponytail back then as well, and so he asked me to take my hair out and let it flop, and Luke thinks I look like a waterbender in this video.
It looks like you're trying to conjure up some kind of mischief.
Yeah. Okay, so let me grab that. This one.
I wouldn't call this embarrassing.
No, I don't think so. It's fun.
It's just different. Oh, I just saw what you titled it. Nice.
Rock Out Man, yeah. Yeah, because I sent that to Dr. Keltz. He wanted to see how we were doing while we were at Bard, so I just sent him that. I put it together with the flashy opening and sent him that clip. Oh, and then actually the next day we had a Q&A with Lawrence, and I asked him, what do you think of long hair? Kind of as a joke, and everybody laughed. And he surprised all of us because he said, actually that is a legitimate question, because you have to consider, what does the orchestra need? They definitely don't need you to look showy, but maybe the audience kind of likes you to look showy, or, likes a little bit more character. And Lawrence sent us a video. Let me find that and then get ready. Here we are. Okay, sharing to Lawrence.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, no!
My name is Lawrence Galan, and I am the music director and conductor of the Yakima Symphony.
I think I know what happened. Uh-oh. Excuse me, everybody. There we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lawrence Galan, and I am the music director and conductor of the Yakima Symphony Orchestra in Washington State, the York Symphony Orchestra in Pennsylvania, and the Denver Philharmonic Orchestra in Colorado. In addition, I am professor of conducting at the University of Denver's Lamont School of Music, where I conduct the Lamont Symphony Orchestra and Opera Theater. To my friends at the Podium Time podcast, I would just like to say congratulations on reaching the 100th episode milestone. You all are doing a terrific job of coming up with informative and interesting content and sharing it with all of our colleagues in the conducting world. Thank you very much for your great work.
Alrighty, and thank you, Lawrence. Again, he's also in Denver with me, not too far away. So I've gotten to work with him a couple more times, twice at Bard, and then a couple times here in Denver. Let's see. Any questions or comments in the comments, Luke?
Well, we did just get one. Monica says, hello, I'm Carlos, youth conductor of a youth orchestra called Octo Carmonia. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. Does Podium Time have a membership for conductors?
A membership? We thought about this a while ago, but not enough people seemed interested. We do have a Patreon page. Podium Time, patreon.com/podiumtimepod, and that's linked on our website. And there we do, every time we do an interview, we do a quick little recap of it. And then every time we do a workshop, we kind of record like a 30-minute, 1 hour summary of what we learned in that workshop, kind of like a review, but not a review. So there's a little bit of a membership area there. We do that. You can also get a Podium Time sticker if you support. I'll mail that out to you. and it's a place to support the podcast. Luke, do you want to link that in the comments just so people send a link to our Patreon page just so people have that?
Okay, hold on.
So again, it's not quite a membership, but you get early access to the episodes, usually a couple days early. Whenever we record an interview, we'll record a PT recap, is what we call it. So I interviewed Mayan Chen on Wednesday, so Thursday morning I released like a little 5 or 7 minute video of what we talked about in the interview that you'll see later today in about, 2 hours? I can't do the math. And then these workshop reviews, which take a while, so we haven't done too many, but I think there are 2 on there. Yeah, so that's the most membership we have for conductors. And
we
that's
wanted
also
to
just a way to support us. Yeah.
We really wanted to make sure that this podcast was something that was completely free and accessible to anyone. And of course, there's no pressure or anything to support us, because all of this information is just something we all really need to have. And obviously we're very grateful to all of our guests who come on.
We're not creating any of this information. We're just sharing what people share with us. We do have a Facebook group, the Podium Time Inner Circle. So that's a little bit of a membership community, but again, totally free. Nothing paid there, no requirements to pay. Let's see if I can get my comments up. Thanks so much for the question. I always forget to share that we have a Patreon page. Let's see. Let me read another statement.
Well, we do have another question, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
Wesley Hunter says, what is your favorite / most memorable guest or episode?
That's a good one, Wesley. Oh, there are so many. Do you have an answer? Because I think I'm gonna need to sit. I'm gonna need to think for a second.
Probably my favorite is with our first episode with Joanne Folletta.
Yeah.
Just because my introduction to Joanne Folletta was through a recording of Marcel Tyberg and his symphonies number 2 and 3. I found him on on YouTube, just randomly.
Marcel Tyberg as a Facebook?
Yeah. And I just kind of fell in love with his music, and I wanted to know more. And so I started, she has a lot to do with bringing his music, back to the concert halls. And part of my master's thesis wound up actually being taking a manuscript of one of his works and putting it all out and then performing it and it was really great. And we had so many technical difficulties, and I think we wound up waiting for about 45 minutes as Jeremy tried to figure out
it was
everything.
More like an hour. She was very patient with us.
And so it was just so great because that whole time I just got to sit there and have this really great discussion with her about this composer that I didn't know much about. And at the time I was working on a research paper on the Prokofiev Classical Symphony. And so we talked about that for a while, and it was I just love talking about music and being able to talk to somebody, like Joanne Valletta on a one-on-one for almost an hour was pretty memorable. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, and I don't know if I can pick one. Definitely one of the scariest interviews we've ever had was with Thomas Taylor Dickey, who will be joining us in about half an hour for a live Q&A. And a lot of you, I think, probably know Thomas. And the reason this was terrifying was because we had a whole list of questions to go through. And then he just started going, and he answered every question we had in 20 minutes. And this is when I was just sitting there like, oh my God, am I going to have anything like... What am I gonna ask him? I'm not gonna have anything else. So that was probably the most terrifying. If I had to pick one, our interview that we did with Teddy Abrams recently was this summer. Teddy's a very quickly big name and very quickly becoming a bigger name. And we had to schedule his interview like 4 months out, and we had to do it on a Wednesday afternoon at 1:00. So, that just made it so special that we had to, we had this on our calendar for 4 months. And then when we got there, I feel like we just connected so quickly. And, he just had so much great stuff to say. It was such an easy episode to record. Sometimes it gets very stressful going into an episode because even though it's just going to be fun, we're just talking to somebody. There's also that pressure of like coming up with things to say, making sure we hit all our topics, and what if we run out of topics. But with Teddy, it just, everything just came out, and it was such a natural episode. I almost didn't have to cut any of it. And what he was saying was so great. So I don't remember the number on that one, but it came out this July, and it's really gone underserved. It has relatively very few listens, unfortunately. So Wesley, thanks for the question. Probably Teddy's. Actually, you know what? Our episode 6 with Dr. Keltz was also a blast. That was just us hanging out because we'd been studying with him for a year then. No, and then I had moved to Colorado already, and I came back for the winter, and we just sat at a table and we just chatted. Same thing with Dr. Cook. When we recorded an episode with Christopher Cook, that was also just us sitting at the table and chatting with a very good friend for an hour. So those are definitely the most fun episodes when things just flow and it's just a conversation.
Well, I really enjoy when we're able to actually get together, and obviously Zoom allows us to conversate and make this work, but being able to sit in the same room together and be face to face and actually just talk, I think it makes it a lot easier, and it's really enjoyable. I wish we could do it more often.
Yeah, I think only 4 of our episodes are in-person interviews. It's episode 2 with Gary Lewis and Larry Livingston, episode 6 with Dr. Keltz, episode something with Dr. Cook, and then I recorded one about a year ago with Ian Passmore when I was in Montreal. And I have a statement from Ian. Let me find it. There it is. Oh, and there's one other, which I can link to the next statement that I'm going to read. So this is from Ian Passmore from episode 65, Less is More, with Ian Passmore. I'd like to offer my congratulations to Jeremy and the Podium Time crew on their 100th episode. What a milestone. I was happy to speak with Jeremy last year in Montreal during the International Conductors Guild annual conference, and I recognize Podium Time as a rapidly growing and valuable resource, not just for conductors, but for all classical musicians. Now, my top piece of conducting advice. Connect your score study and your interpretation. They're not the same thing. The former informs the latter. Take in all of the objective details about the music and use that to form an educated opinion, i.e. an interpretation. To paraphrase a colleague, you can know everything there is to know about a piece and still not have a clue about how it should sound. So thank you, Ian, for that statement and for that advice. and for having a fantastic time with me in Montreal. We had some delicious food. Oh my god! And then we got snowed in. There was a blizzard in Montreal, and everyone, like every single plane for an entire day, got grounded. So like literally the entire Conductors Guild conference is sitting there on their phones, like trying to find a new flight out of Montreal. Any other comments, Luke? Because I do have another one that I can lead into.
Yes, so couple actually. First, hello, Rain Worthington.
Oh, great.
She said that she's going to have to check out episode 6 with Dr. Keltz.
Mm-hmm.
So she's fantastic and has been a wonderful friend ever since we met her at Missouri State.
Mm-hmm.
So also we have Ben Cuevas. I think you might know him.
I wonder who that could be.
Says, do you have any fond memories of the Pershing Middle School Orchestra, either as a student or student teacher?
Yeah, so Pershing Middle School was where I went to middle school and elementary school. We had a double middle and elementary school. And we had... Okay, I'm gonna include Glendale High School, because all three of these kind of go together. My first teacher was Andy Johnston, who teaches the 5th grade strings in Springfield, Missouri. Then his wife, Elizabeth Johnston, teaches the middle school, and then Andy teaches the high school again. So I got to spend my entire first however many years of violin playing with them, taking lessons and doing student teaching. So I did student teaching when I was in high school. I did student teaching in middle school, and I was teaching in Ben, my brother's class. And then in high school and in college, I did some student teaching at the high school. And I got one of the videos I was thinking of bringing up for conducting to share was when my brother was playing, and my brother Ben Cuevas was playing as a soloist on a Vivaldi concerto. He was playing guitar, and Andy Johnston was playing mandolin on a double mandolin concerto. And it was one of my very early conducting opportunities when I was at Missouri State in college. So I don't know if Ben was implying that I should share a specific memory, but that's one of my best memories. Just hey ho to the Johnstons in Springfield, Missouri, doing the Lord's work.
Oh, Rain said that she just made a donation to the Chicago Sinfonietta. So thank you so much for that. Yes.
Yeah. So we should mention, again, we are raising money for the Chicago Sinfonietta Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship. So this is a fellowship in which minority conductors of all kinds. We've had 2 of them on our podcast before, and they've helped a lot of different students lead into a professional career. We'll talk with their music director, Mayan Chen. I recorded an interview with her on Wednesday, and we'll show the premiere of that new interview in a couple hours. And yeah, so we're raising money for that conducting fellowship. It's a really great program. A lot of students have come through it. Alexis Enyart has been on our podcast, as has Roderick Cox. So please check out that link. It should still be pinned at the top of the comments. chicagosinfonietta.org/donate. That first box is to Project Inclusion, and if you say you're coming from Podium Time, they'll know to send that to the Conducting Fellowship. So we're here celebrating, we're here sharing stories, and we're also raising money for that. Which reminds me, let me play a video from Jeffrey Meyer while we're here, because one of his students is in the program right now, and it's a pretty cute video because his kids are in it. Well, they're not in it, but the sound of them are in it.
Hey, Podium Time, friends and family. Congratulations. This is a great milestone, 100 episodes. I have really enjoyed listening to your content, and I've enjoyed being interviewed within your podcasts, and I think you've done a great service to the profession so far in the short time that you've been doing this work. Thank you so much. And supporting Project Inclusion, what an incredible program. As you know, I have a former student, Michelle DeRusso, who's in that program now, and I think the world of it. So talk about 2 very worthwhile projects to support, both this podcast and Project Inclusion. Those are my kids. They're running wild by themselves right now. I'm going to go take care of them. You raise some money, and congratulations again. Happy 100.
Awesome.
His interview was also really fun. We had such a good time interviewing him.
Yeah, so he's episode 85, How to Be Confident, Effective, and Humble on the Podium. And Jeffrey, if you're watching, I promise to never misspell your first name again. It seems to be something I'm very good at misspelling his first name. Since I mentioned interviews we've done live, one interview, and which actually is not an interview, and which, so I don't know if, I mean, it's an episode of Podium Time, but it's not really an episode of Podium Time, is episode 49, Keys to a Successful Rehearsal, with Donald Schleicher. So a couple years ago, I did a workshop, and I asked if he would like to be interviewed, and he did not want to be interviewed, but he did say that I could listen, or I could record this this lecture he was giving on rehearsal. And this lecture, again, episode 49, is by a bit, actually, our most downloaded episode. And our second most downloaded episode is another lecture that we did not do, but I just recorded, so I don't know if that says anything about our about our interviewing skills, but I have a statement from Don Schleicher, who many of you may know. He's a very popular teacher. Donald says, "I apologize for my unavailability on this day. I had asked if he would come join us live. I offer my warmest greetings and congratulations to Jeremy, Luke, and the entire Podium Time audience. Your roster of formidable conductor guests, as well as the inspired list of topics, have been most impressive. The Podium Time venture has proven to be a worthy contribution to our profession, and I hope that it continues with even greater success. I'd be remiss if I didn't express my sincerest confusion and utter bafflement as to why episode 49 has been popular. However, since many are listening to it, I do hope that your ensembles have benefited from your positive and therefore productive rehearsals. I also announce at this time that I shall be retiring from the University of Illinois after the current semester. I have no concrete plans other than to enjoy listening to more episodes of Podium Time, of course. I wish you all the best and offer one last bit of advice. If you have a minute, learn to measure. Donald Schleicher." So thanks so much to Maestro Schleicher for sending us that message, for letting us record that that little lecture of his, which is 50 downloads above our second highest and about 130 downloads above the highest episode that we recorded. So thanks so much. And again, that's another one that we recorded in person, if it counts. I figured out why I'm not seeing the comments, Luke, because I was accidentally watching it on my own. I'm sharing this to my conductor page, and I was sharing it on my conductor page, and nobody's watching it on my conductor page. So go ahead.
Well, we do have a question.
Yes.
Where can I watch the episodes of Podium Time?
So most of our episodes are just audio. We have a select few episodes in video. Part of that is it's a lot easier to edit audio. With video, when you edit it, everything shifts visually, but audio is a lot easier to edit. There's less pressure on our guests. A lot of our guests don't want to be recorded in video. Because it adds one extra layer of pressure, it makes it a little bit more difficult to edit. And we do a lot of editing. I'll take out little clips, or if somebody coughs, I'll take that out of the edit. We do have a couple episodes that are video, though. We have an interview premiering today in about an hour, 2 hours, with Mayan Chen, music director of the Chicago Sinfonietta. That full interview will be going in video on our YouTube page. We also do have a clip with Phil Agulia of Pagu Batons, and he sent us a clip to share as well. So in that episode, he walked us through his Pagu Batons. If you don't know Pagu Batons, it's they are handcrafted batons made by Phil Agulia from Buffalo, New York. Fine fellow. And so he walked us around his studio. We talked about batons. We talked about the science of kind of making batons. And he had, so that one we actually shared in video because he was showing us examples. So before we take another question, let me share that. But that is just about the only actual video episode. Again, it's a lot easier to do audio, and usually our guests are more comfortable because sometimes we're recording from the closet. I usually record in my closet because it's a little drier and my dog doesn't bother me. And a lot of guests also record in their closet, actually. So let's see, who am I looking up again? I'm looking up Phil.
Hey, Jeremy, I gotta go let the dogs out real quick. Hold on.
Cool. Mute. There we go. I forgot to mute earlier. Okay, so here's Phil's video.
Hello, Jeremy and Luke. Congratulations on your 100th episode of Podium Time from Pagu Batons. I want to say thank you very much for having me as a guest. It was really terrific to talk with you guys. Your program is a real benefit to our profession. I see you have so many varieties of people with different experiences that you interview that are providing valuable experience and anecdotes for other people in our profession. So thank you very much, and much luck and continued success for you guys as you continue this journey. Bye-bye.
Awesome. So thank you, Phil, for sharing that. We've got 2 episodes with Phil. Again, the Pagu Batons episode, which is also on our YouTube page. And then the second half of that talk was episode 88. Phil's got a really, really cool way that he runs his education programs at his high school. And we talk about doing that. He takes beginner students and in just a couple years gets them all the way up to college ready. So I think I've almost got these comments figured out, but only Luke can see the comments as of yet. So I'm going to share another video. This is an embarrassing video of mine from one of my very first times conducting. This is a rehearsal of the Dvorak Serenade for wind instruments, and I just don't know. Things just were not clicking, and also it was like one of my 3rd or 4th time. And of course, I thought I was a great conductor already, so here we go. Again. Start right before the intro. My bad, again. One before where we just stopped.
That's a really long baton.
We're going to be getting back into the march now. Sorry. Same place? I had no idea what I was doing. So that's me giving up and having no idea. I should have been dun dun. I should have just gotten back and forth, but for some reason I was still in halftime, and I just could not make it work in my brain. Darn it, I can't get these comments to pull up. Oh well, Luke, you're in charge of comments today.
I've got it.
Cool. Anything else? Any other questions? I think I saw a glimpse of one about a magazine for conductors.
Oh yeah. Is there a recommendation for a music magazine for conductors?
I mean, Gramophone is really the only one that comes to mind. It's about recordings, but classical music in general. There are a lot of conductor interviews in there. Other than that, the Conductors Guild has a journal that I believe is going back into production very soon, and that has that's more academic articles, but those are the 2 that I would suggest. Oh, also, League of American Orchestras Symphony Magazine is very, very good, and that's kind of one of the standard ones, but those are the 3. So Gramophone, Symphony Magazine from League of American Orchestras, and then if you're a member of the Conductors Guild, which everybody should be, you can join, or you can see old issues, and they should have new issues coming out soon.
Jean Maria says, we've all been there.
Yep. Yeah, that was a I don't know what was going on in my brain, but it wasn't the right thing to be going on in my brain. Speaking of going on in the brain, should we show Luke's other early conducting video? So do you want to preface this before we watch it?
So it was right when I started conducting. I was very eager to approach concerti. I love piano concertos, listen to them probably more than most other classical musical genres, but I put together an ensemble at MSU of students and some just community friends of mine to just have a concert to conduct. And I got a friend of mine. Her name was Vicky Chen. She's an amazing pianist. She agreed to do the first movement of the Chopin Concerto in E flat. And everything went really well in rehearsals. Nothing went wrong. And it was my first time conducting something that large in front of we didn't have a large audience, but we had a lot more than we expected. And I was just so nervous. And well, let's just watch it, and I'll be embarrassed for myself, and you all can figure out what happened.
Yeah, okay, this one's on YouTube, so let me make sure I'm getting there correctly. Scooby-Doo. Okay. Oh, so, yeah. So what meter is this in, Luke?
It's in 3.
It's in 3, okay.
Figure it out.
Awesome.
Man.
I'm just typing out the names of those magazines quick.
I do not remember any of that, is the crazy thing. Until I watched that video yesterday, I completely forgot that happened. So I'm assuming it's just because the trauma just blocked it out. But you know what? I haven't made that mistake again.
Yeah. Good. Good. John Devlin just said hi. Hello, John. John was also a very recent guest. John is one of the hosts of the Upbeat podcast from everythingconducting.com. We've had 3 of their 4 staff on the podcast so far, and when we start scheduling soon, I'm going to be reaching out to Enrico to finish out the 4 of 4 for Everything Conducting. John also sent a statement. He's from episode 93, Creating an Experience with Innovative Concert Design. This was a really fun interview as well. Quote, "The Podium Time podcast is one of the most valuable resources for me for my continued learning as a conductor. Being able to hear experienced music directors dive into their best lessons is so helpful to me in my career as a new music director, and I really appreciate the way that Jeremy and Luke prepare for each episode so that the conversations flow easily and allow the guests to reveal their most important thoughts. Congratulations on 100 wonderful episodes. I can't wait to keep listening." So thank you so much, John, for being on the podcast, for sharing your really cool, innovative concert design ideas, and for the kind words. We really appreciate it. One thing we say to every guest is, I'm looking forward to meeting in person sometime.
Mm-hmm.
We've met a couple in person, and a lot of our guests are people we've met and then reached out to later. But there are so many people we've just never gotten to meet. So John, I hope that we get to meet in person at some point. John's music director of the Wheeling Symphony. Again, everythingconducting.com. They've got awesome articles, and their podcast is really good. It's really good. It's a little bit more structured. They do some interviews, but they also do some other stuff. So, still a conducting podcast, but a very different take. So it's a great complement to Podium Time. Alrighty, so it is about 5 till the hour. In a couple minutes, we should be joined by one of our early favorites, Thomas Taylor Dickey, and I think some of his students are here today. So so in about 5 minutes, we'll have Thomas on. We can keep going here, though. Any more questions from the comments?
Chris Sarah's here.
Oh, hey, Chris Sarah. Chris Sarah's my fiance. Sup, boys? I am here. Yes, you are here. And Joanna is here. Yeah, Joanna has actually sent us to some guests recently, including Sarah Ioannidis, I believe. So welcome.
And we met Joanna at was it Bard?
I think it was Bard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, go to workshops.
Yeah,
you learn. Not only do you learn a lot, but you meet so many people, and you don't realize how those connections are gonna bear fruit down the line. Mm-hmm. So when you go to those workshops, it's important to be able to focus and study. But I think the thing that sometimes we forget about is the fact that we're there with all of these other conductors and get to know them.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're going to meet your lifelong friends. I'm just checking my email, make sure nothing is going wrong. Okay, cool. Perfect. And, whoop! You said Joanne, so I have another video to share from the Joanne Falletta. I reached out to Joanne to come join us live, but I believe she's driving between Buffalo and Virginia today, so she couldn't join us. So let me share this video from Joanne Falletta.
Hi, Jeremy and Luke. This is your friend Joanne Falletta, sending you my warmest congratulations on your 100th episode of Podium Time. I was honored to be a small part of that, and very happy to have a chance to talk to you. And I want to thank you for what you've done for conductors everywhere. Ours is a very, very lonely job, and you've given us a chance to meet virtually, to share ideas, and to get to know one another, and I'm very grateful to you. So, congratulations on this wonderful achievement, and let's wish for 100 more episodes at least.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joanne. Joanne has, again, she's been on the podcast. She's been on the podcast 3 times in episode 1, 33, and 69. And 69 is one of our top listened episodes, the top episode of 2020. So, for the schedule for today, in a couple minutes, we're going to be going into live Q&A with some of our favorite past guests. That schedule should be up on our page. And then, a little bit later, we're going to be premiering a brand new interview with Mayan Chen. It's going to be a condensed interview down to about 40 minutes. Then in a couple weeks, we'll release the full interview. But this is it. This is the beginning of it. And then after the interview airs, we'll continue sharing some of these for a little bit, taking more questions for just me and Luke. So until then, we're still waiting on our guest. Let me share. Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, let's go ahead and play since it's like the top of the hour, let's play the Chicago Sinfonietta video.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I keep forgetting to mention it. So again, if you're joining us, we're raising money for the Chicago Sinfonietta Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship, which is a great program. I'll talk more with Mayan about that later. We've got a short video from them. Let me get it pulled up, and then we can watch that. And we talk about their programming. They're a very dynamic, very diverse, very cool orchestra. So let's see, and here's their video. Only 1 minute long. Awesome stuff. Yeah, so we'll have an interview with Mayan Chen, who you just saw. Another video is starting. It's Luke's Chopin video.
Oh no, not again.
So we do have let's see. We've got a link up at the top of the comments that goes to Chicago Sinfonietta's donate page, chicagosinfonietta.org/donate, I believe, right? Yes. And the first thing on there is Project Inclusion. Just say you're here from Podium Time, and they'll know to send that over to the Conducting Fellowship, which again we've had 2 guests on. It's a really, really, really fantastic program, and Mayan and I will talk about the specifics of what the students learn in there. And it is top of the hour. which means that we have a very special guest with us here for a live Q&A. Thomas, would you care to join us?
Greetings, I'd be delighted to join you all.
Hey there, how you doing?
Hey.
Long time no see, gentlemen. Good to see you.
It's magic. You've just appeared. I'm so glad I figured out how to get that one. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I'm just watching the video to make sure you're appearing correctly. There you are. Okay, good.
Excellent.
So, how have you been? I mean, you were in the 20s for us. You're a very early guest.
Wow. I've been busy and well, and I was thinking back all the episodes. I have this as like required listening for my students because I think this is just a wonderful service you guys are doing. Thank you so much.
Which episodes do you require listening?
Well, of course, Mark Siddell of University of Georgia, and then when you had Don Schleicher, Gary Lewis, those are some of my favorite episodes. But of course, like Joanne Valletta, I just adore her. So I'm always passing them on. Like, you guys got to listen to this stuff. This is valuable.
You don't sound up to your own episode?
Well, that would be too shameless. So.
Well, we're so happy. So update us. Where are you? Where you're teaching now? Where are you based and everything?
So I'm still at Oklahoma State, go Pokes. I mean, year 5 already. I think when I did this with you guys, I was in my first year of teaching, and just like the past 5 years have just flown right by. So still Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. And you're teaching conductors, right? You have a master's program?
Yes, I'm so excited. We have the master's in conducting. This is my 3rd student that I've got now in my 5 years, and then I select a number of undergrads after they've completed the undergraduate sequence. They can take 2 semesters with me before they either go out and student teach or before they go on to get a graduate degree. And I've had about 3 students at a time, so I've been very fortunate to get to do that as well.
That's awesome. So everybody, make sure you post a couple. Oh, we've got a Go Pokes comment. Any questions for Thomas? Now, last time we were on, we talked extensively about workshops.
Yes.
All over the place. Have you been to any workshops in the past couple of years?
Not since I did this podcast. I certainly have been keeping my eye open and trying to keep in touch with people who are organizing them, looking out for recommendations and so forth. But no, I feel like, Father, forgive me, it's been 5 years since my last workshop. But I before the pandemic hit, went to 2 competitions. One was in Budapest and one was in Bucharest. But in terms of like a proper workshop, no. Forgive me, fathers. It's been a couple of years since my last one.
Well, I think competitions count for something at least.
Oh, I mean, they are valuable learning experiences. That's for sure. I was lucky. I advanced to the final round and took 2nd place in one, and then in another only advanced a couple rounds. But those were incredible experiences, definitely.
Well, congratulations. I mean, I did a workshop with. These stupid bugs are back. I did a workshop with Henry Fogel, and one of the things I was surprised about is he was like, if you become a finalist in something, whether it's a job or like, put that on your resume. Put finalist. So I thought, so hey, finalist is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. What have you been? What have you been doing for the past year? I'll just ask that question.
Oh, absolutely. And I get that asked a lot, especially by prospective students interested in coming to OSU. And I can say that for the past year, we were able to have orchestra face-to-face throughout the pandemic. We split the group into 2, one with strings only, primarily freshmen and sophomores, and then one with just select number of winds, primarily grads and the juniors and seniors, rehearsed for shorter periods of time, like 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'd wipe down the chairs and stands, clear the room, and then the next group would come in. We were able to do 3 concerts in the fall semester with a limited 100-person audience. All 3 of them sold out, I was very proud to say, but we also live streamed them through Oklahoma State TV. And I think what I'm most proud, of course, we had 0 cases of COVID, so I was really proud about that. But I was proud of the way that we were able to do Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, and then also composers of color, LGBTQ composers, women composers. We even had a commissioning project, all of that during the pandemic. And that's what I'm most proud about, what I've been up to this past year, still playing great rep at a high level, socially distanced in a really safe environment.
That's awesome.
So having to break your rehearsals down to such short periods of time, how did that affect how you approached rehearsal?
So I still went into every rehearsal with like my detailed lesson plans, my goals, my objectives, but they were just really very intense. I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. The first several rehearsals, I get home and I almost like fall asleep like a baby, like in my food or something like that. Like, wait a minute, it's 5:30. Why am I dozing off? Because though it was 45 minutes, it was like the intensity of a 2.5-hour rehearsal in 45 minutes. Because you just wanted to get as much done possible. Because, let's be honest, we weren't certain how long we were going to stay face-to-face. We were totally prepared to go virtual at a moment's notice. And so we wanted to get as much done as possible in every rehearsal. So it made for it to be very, very intense. But, I was proud because everybody, they really stepped up their game, but they realized after like 6 months of being in isolation how much they missed that human connection and making music. And so it just meant so much more for the students to have that opportunity to be there. So we all had to really step up our game and make every moment of those 45 minutes count, for sure.
Yeah. And then I think when you go to regular rehearsals again, it's going to be, we may go back to normal, but we're definitely going to be thinking about it.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I'm going to, I just ran a 5K, and I have a condition for a 10K and then the half marathon, because going back to 2-hour rehearsals when you're only doing 45 is going to feel long. I remember I had like what I was called like teacher voice, like after you've not really had to talk for a long time and then you're given this long lecture, you're talking a lot in rehearsal and you go, my voice is suddenly very hoarse. So I'm totally prepared for that to happen.
Drops over here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been doing a couple concerts, but normally we've got that whole week, and right now just because of funds and spacing, we've got to do it all in one day. Rehearsal, concert, bam! It's like so much more intense. Yeah.
For everybody involved, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Do we have any questions coming in, Luke?
Not yet. Not that I've seen.
All right.
Well, we've just gotten started, so I won't take it personally.
And I think we saw somebody from OSU in here earlier. Don't remember who or where, but it was one of the first people in.
It might have been my current master's student, Sarah, or one of my recent undergraduates, Hope.
She's here.
Yeah, Hope's here.
Oh yeah, Hope. I'm just so proud of her. She made her big conducting debut back in the fall semester. She conducted this. You guys had asked me about gems or pieces that I've recently discovered, and this is one. It's called Adieu by Todd Coleman, living composer. Very much in the vein of like Barbara Adagio, but it's in D major, so much better key, for younger orchestra programs. Yep. And she studied the score, did the bowings, ran all the rehearsals, and then she conducted last semester before she's student teaching right now. And she was recently named one of the fellows for the Girls Who Conduct mentorship program, this inaugural program that was started. So shout out to Hope, super proud of her.
Yeah, congratulations to Hope. We know she's still watching.
I know, she's probably read as a beat.
Awesome. So when you were doing these small pieces with the orchestra, you said you did a lot of diverse repertoire. What were some of the kind of the top ones in there?
Yeah, so I reached out to several composer friends of mine for recommendations, or, is there anything that you've written that you think, might have been before the pandemic, but could work well with the reduced forces. Mm-hmm. And one of them that I just absolutely loved, it's called Sunset for Chamber Orchestra by Elliot Yoakum, one of the few living gender non-binary composers. And the instrumentation is similar to Copeland Appalachian Spring with just a few extra players. And so we were capped at 30 in a room or on stage, and it worked really, really well. And it's, got this beautiful slow introduction, and then this, opening allegro section, and then it kind of bookends the way it began, about 6 or 7 minutes. And what I loved about the piece is that because Elliot is a young up-and-coming composer, not quite out to make, a ton of money off the piece, mm-hmm. Their approach was pay what you can. Okay. And so we kind of made a really good bargain off it. And the students really enjoyed, the piece. And it was great to have some conversations about, gender identity, sexuality, and then, of course, another piece that was great fun, Florence Price, Adoration, originally for organ. I ended up transcribing it myself for string orchestra, and then we premiered that in the fall semester. And so it was great to talk about, Black composers, Black women composers, of the past centuries. Those two really stand out in terms of recent gems that I either transcribed myself or recently discovered during the pandemic.
Awesome. Yeah, so that transcription could be very useful.
Well, I have sent it off to Tux Music Publisher down in Texas with hopes of getting it published soon, because there is one that I found on IMSLP, but that particular arranger didn't keep it in the same key. Florence Price wrote it in D major, going to G, going back to D, and this one is in C at the beginning. And I thought, D major is a wonderful key for orchestras, especially for younger orchestras. Why would you mess with that? And so I honored her original key signature, but I decided to modify the tempo. In the original, she writes it adagio, but then writes almost like an alla breve. And I listened to a couple other people's orchestrations, and they're almost like it just flies by, seemingly flies by. And I myself am also an organist, and so I was trying to think, well, if Florence Price were playing this during church, I doubt if she'd be just sailing through these beautiful harmonic progressions. Yeah. And so I actually, tried to honor her original tempo marking and thinking more like the Barbara Adagio sort of tempo. So it's about maybe 4 minutes, and it's just stunning. And I'm hoping that Tux Music Publishers will get it out soon, because I've already been contacted by several, public school orchestra programs who are looking for, more diverse repertoire. And they're like, hey, Florence Price, where can we get some? And I said, I'll get back to you as soon as it's published. Gotta have to be legal first.
That's awesome. Yeah, don't forget that you guys play instruments, all you conductors out there. So that's
exactly.
Yeah. That's a good thing for the piece as well. That you knew what she was implying, what she was, writing for.
I would like to think so, yeah. I mean, I think we all, where possible, whether it's a Beethoven symphony or a Florence Price piece, we try to get inside the composer's mindset, or, try to wrestle with what they might be wrestling with when they wrote it, to give us, a deeper understanding and perspective. I think we do it all the time, whether or not we realize it.
Yeah. So let's cross our fingers that we get that published, because, I mean, and also 4 minutes is so flexible. You can just add that. It's not like a 40-minute piece that you have to base a program around. You can put that in, no problem.
Exactly. And I think one of the reasons why I decided to do it, we did in September, was to have this in memoriam of those who had passed away to COVID. At that point, it was when we were nearing 200,000 victims. And we had already done Nimrod a couple years before, when it lined up with an anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. And I know that the Barbara Adagio is another common piece. I was looking for something that, would be of a similar vein, appropriate, for remembering. And I'm not going to lie, gentlemen, it hit me a lot harder, after I gave that final cutoff, diminuendo al niente, and I kind of just paused, and I had, just tears coming down my cheeks, and I was hit in a way that I wasn't quite expecting. I mean, I'm very fortunate. Nobody in my family, knock wood, has either had COVID or passed away from it. But, that piece, it suddenly spoke to me and in that moment in a way that I wasn't expecting.
This isn't the Adoration by Price, is that it?
Yeah. We played that, and we held a moment of silence after the cutoff, for those who had passed away.
Glad you got me. I'm gonna write that down now instead of writing it down later.
Very smart, very smart.
So do you guys have a recording of that somewhere, that if someone wanted to hear what that sounded like, they could go and watch the performance?
Absolutely. If you go to ostate.tv, it's kind of like the TV channel for OSU, and click on our broadcast archives. You might have to scroll down because it's in chronological order, or reverse chronological order, and you should be able to find it. It's September 2020, excuse me. It was on that first orchestra concert. It's up there for watching.
It's heavy for the first concert back.
Yeah.
But I think very, very appropriate. Very appropriate. Yeah, so let's hope that gets published. I would love to see that making the rounds.
Well, and there are some other composers of a similar sort, or other pieces by Florence Price that have also caught my eye, and so I'm hoping that's going to be one of my big summer projects, because I don't anticipate traveling much this upcoming summer, even with vaccinations and so forth. So I think one of the silver linings of all this time that we've had on our hands recently is it's allowed us to explore other, creative avenues. Like, I'm interested in orchestration and arranging, or I'm interested in writing an article. I got to write 2 of them during my free time. One was on a pedagogical topic, score study. So a great, thrilling page turner of an article.
And then the other things about score study.
And then the other article was an analysis of 2 pieces by underrepresented composers that I had recently conducted in an attempt to, highlight these to other conductors. So that's my plan going forward, is to try to find ways to keep these other creative outlets a part of my life.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we're raising money for the Project Inclusion Conducting Fellowship, but they also do have a composer fellowship at the program there. So
excellent! I did not know that.
Do definitely check those out, or check out some of the composers coming up to there. It's a really, really great program through Chicago Sinfonietta.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I was wondering, so this is the 100th. And did you guys, or like, what's the next big step for this podium, for this podcast? What's like for 150 or, the whatever next big anniversary? What are you guys thinking about?
Ask me after today is
Fair enough.
No, I think we're going to go back to doing what we do best, which is, after this weekend, we're gonna sit down with our calendars and make a new schedule, and then send it out to as many new. We've got a huge list that's been building up over the past couple months, because we've both been busy and haven't been able to schedule. So I'm glad we were able to get everyone together for today. But yeah, so I don't know what 150 or 200 looks like. Maybe something like this again. This has been really fun already, and we have only been at it for a little bit over an hour. But yeah, more interviews. I'd like to start posting blogs and short articles and stuff more, but that's always something that I wish I could do, but I don't find enough time for it between all the
stuff. Absolutely. There are only so many hours in the day, gentlemen. But this is just such a wonderful project that you've got going on. I know so many young conductors out there are always looking for more opportunities for mentorship, and opportunities to learn from other people, and that you're doing this is just fantastic. So I'm so excited for the two of you. I'm looking forward to your 150th and your 200th episodes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Hope said that, I do have my comments pulled up now. Hope said that she couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, she's very kind. She's very kind.
I assume she means you and not us. I assume that you
maybe she means all y'all. Like, it takes a village,
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thomas, do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to share?
I would like, where possible, the next upcoming concert we've got on Friday, March 5 at OSU. You can also join us on our Facebook page. You can watch it at ostate.tv. It's going to be more music by women composers. A recent Claire Schumann Prelude and Fugue, transcribed for strings, and then a piece by Stella Sung, chorale for string orchestra, quite possibly the most poignant setting of the Negro spiritual, My Lord, What a Morning, set for string orchestra. And we're going to be playing that along with several other pieces. But I'm really looking forward to sharing those with you all online. If you'll join us Friday, March 5 at 7:30, and if not, it'll be archived, and you can go back and listen to those great pieces by women composers and composers of color.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys stream all of your concerts?
Yes, they are always streamed in real time at ostate.tv, and then you can always go back and watch them after the fact. They stay archived.
That's awesome that you have that consistency. You've got it in the same place all the time. We can just go check the schedule or see what's new. I'm really glad you guys do that.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for making the time. Thanks so much for joining us. All the way back in episode 22, you were an early favorite. I believe it was 22. It was
a long time ago. That sounds about right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I realized after I saw the comments that we should have put you and Carolyn next to each other. I didn't realize you two were such good friends.
Oh, yeah, and we're neighbors. She's my neighbor to the north, and Carolyn's lovely. We see each other more in these situations than we actually do face-to-face. It's really funny. But yeah, Carolyn's awesome, and then, of course, Kevin's fantastic as well.
Perfect. Yeah, so we have Kevin No coming up in just a minute. Perfect. Well, again, Thomas, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Alrighty, so that was Thomas Taylor Dickey from Oklahoma State University. Yeah, awesome. Our next live guest is, again, one of our favorites, whose episode 42, Kick-Ass Score Study, is our highest downloaded interview that we actually run. Again, the first two I mentioned earlier are one of Don Schleicher's, and then another recording of Larry Ratcliffe's, a lecture that each of them gave. But Kick-Ass Score Study with Kevin No is our highest downloaded interview that we actually recorded, and it continues to be one that we share. So if Kevin would join us, there he is.
Hello.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Great, how are you?
Good, nice to see you.
Absolutely. You too. Again, thanks for making this time.
It was a pleasure.
Perfect. So again, people watching, go ahead and put any questions in the comments, and we'll be getting to those very soon. Kevin, what have you been up to?
Well, I heard there was a virus going around. So.
Oh, yeah.
I've been teaching up a storm. None of it has been in person. I've been teaching exclusively online for quite a while now. But obviously that's been going on. And of course, at the soul of that, at the center of that teaching is lots of score study talk with my conducting students. So we've been doing probably, certainly about 5 hours a week, every week of score study. And also I've had an enormous number of requests to do score study and interpretation sessions like all over the country. So I'm actually, on that front, I've been busier than ever. I just did one for the CODA symposium, and I feel like I've had at least one or two almost every week for the last several months. So, but it's been fun, and of course I've learned a lot, and every time I work with people, I wind up believing even more passionately that it is the score study component that is the chief thing that's really missing from the craft of conducting, and it's a place that I really like trying to make a little contribution.
Absolutely. For those just joining us, we are on the phone with Kevin No. This is the Podium Time episode 100 live stream extravaganza. We're celebrating that and
jazz hands.
and raising money for the Project Inclusion Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. A link to donate should be pinned in the comments or chicagosinfonietta.org/donate. The first one is Project Inclusion. Just tell them you're coming from Podium Time, and the funds will go to their conducting fellowship. Well, Kevin, I was very lucky to be able to join you for a symposium with some of your conducting students very early, and I learned an incredible amount through. We talked through Fawn, and you guys. I'd done that piece 3 times, and of course me. I'm a young conductor. I think I know everything, and just those first 2 pages. I know.
Yeah, right. I'm still thinking about those first 2 pages.
Right.
Actually, yeah, sure.
Are you still? What are you leading with in your symposium now? When are you teaching?
Well, I don't know. This summer we've decided to go for an online symposium because I just know if we try to do it in July, we'll have to cancel. So
yeah.
It's just a little too early. Maybe a couple months later we'd have had it. But so we haven't determined rep. I'm going to teach with my former student Sue Han, who runs the program at Baldwin Wallace. We're going to teach together, but I'm convinced that we can put together something that is really great. I think we'll probably begin every day with score study. There's something like psychologically to me about starting with that, because I feel like let's do the part where we figure out what we want before we worry about how we're going to get it.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do that every day, but then we'll also focus on certain fundamentals of hand movement. I am astonished to see that despite how much time we spend talking about the hands, I feel like most of the stuff we're talking about isn't the right stuff. That's the real irony of it. It's like, if we're going to spend 90% of our time on that, shouldn't we at least get that right? And I don't think we are, And I don't think we should be spending 90% of our time on that. But if you're gonna, let's at least get it right. And that doesn't seem right either. So we'll probably do all kinds of stuff, I continue to be a really out-of-the-box person. I try really hard to stay kind of on the fringes of things and not get swept up in the mainstream. And so far, that hasn't been a problem for me. I'm definitely kind of on the outside. I should have said to you before when you asked me what I've been doing, a lot of my creative work has been invested in all of this recording engineering and mixing stuff that I've been working on.
Oh, yeah.
That I may have mentioned to you guys that I do this thing with binaural technology, and Pittsburgh New Music Ensemble that I run is now playing with the whole audience in headphones, and we've done a bunch of recordings, and I'm in the process of finishing doing all the mixing of all of those, and I have just learned so much about music making from doing that. I can't even put it into words. So now I have my conducting students doing some mixing because I'm convinced it's more or less exactly the same as conducting. It's about knowing what it is that you want to do and then finding the means to get that,
So what is changing in what you're doing? So from what you've learned, what's the difference?
You're talking in mixing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just, I continue to dream big outside the box about it. And so when I started down this road years ago, I didn't know anything, which was both horrifying and a blessing in disguise. You know, I had no idea how things were supposed to be done. And so I just kept trying to find ways to do things that seemed like they ought to be doable. You know what I mean? So I'm getting better at that. And the things that I continue to learn along the way include that the location of the instruments within the audio field, like within the way you hear them, and this is true live as well, has an enormous impact on the quality of the music making. It has an enormous impact on your relationship to the music making. I keep thinking of it like an actor coming out on stage in a play and then standing in one place and delivering every line from the same location. And this would be insanity. This would never happen because, I mean, even when I'm talking to you right now and I lean and I say, you know, Jeremy, you know, that has an impression. That gives you an impression of the seriousness with which I'm speaking to you. And then in music, we just put everybody on the stage in the same place every show, time and time again, and we never do anything about it. It's insanity. And so in a lot of the work in the mixing I'm doing, I'm exploring location and proximity as ways of bringing music not just into the foreground, but into a greater state of vulnerability or into a greater state of protection. I'm exploring all these kind of like playing in 3 dimensions relationships, things that I was doing, for example, when I did a entirely memorized Appalachian Spring at Michigan State when I taught there, and the players were moving around when we were doing this, and it was having an enormous impact on the way you feel about the music. And so I kind of feel like all these ideas are sort of synthesizing in the mixing right now, and I'm just learning a ton, and I know that it will affect the way I make music on the podium when I get back up there. I have no doubt. I am a better conductor for all the time that I've spent doing this. You know, I just, you know, I really don't know how to put it into words. I've learned this. And I feel like in many ways I'm just scratching the surface on it. I just taught, I'm completely out of my depth, but I just taught a sort of like audio engineering seminar yesterday for UC San Diego with my friend Sharok Yadagari, who's this incredible sound designer, and all these people know a billion times more stuff than I do. I was just so over my head teaching them. But I was trying to talk about what they're doing there, which is really high-end thinking about head-related transfer functions and all this stuff about the way sound works, to how I'm trying to make it on a more pedestrian level, how we might use technology to just make what we do more emotional for the audience and just move them and change them. Because I think it's the marriage of those two people, those two groups of people, that really has tremendous promise, you know, in the future. So anyway, this is just some of the stuff I'm up to. I'm certainly not standing in front of the mirror working on my ictus. Not that I couldn't use some of that, but that ain't how I was spending my time.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, just moving around the stage, just, I don't know why we don't do it, but I also do know why we don't do it.
Yeah, you do. It takes more work, and it takes the right person, and it takes getting out of our comfort zone. It takes a willingness to be vulnerable, and perhaps most importantly, it takes a willingness to approach performing music from the basic idea that we haven't already figured out how it's supposed to be done, and then we just need to keep duplicating that. Mm-hmm. If you believe that, then why would you ever explore anything else? This is how a Brahms symphony is played, you know, like some conductor in the 50s mastered it, that's the way it goes, and now we just play it like that. But this is just, to me, this is literally antithetical to being an artist. So I just can't be a part of that. I will always be looking for ways to make it more and more expressive and impactful, you know.
Mm-hmm. So. We have one question I see from Rain Worthington. Do you use contemporary repertoire for your score study symposiums?
Sure. I think that the last one we did at Michigan State, we did this incredible piece, actually one of the things I'm mixing right now, John Corigliano's Mr. Tambourine Man cycle. He has a small version of that for just the Pierrot instrumentation and soprano, and our incredible soprano Lindsay Kesselman does it really better than anyone. It's just incredible what she does. So yes, we do. I think one of the things in a symposium is that you have to be able to tailor the size of the piece to the size of the ensemble that you can also have. But that one it's just a masterpiece. So we did that before, and I think I'll probably use it again because there's a great deal of music making there, and I'm really close to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you find Do you find that sometimes your students benefit more from studying a score that they don't know than studying a score that they think they know?
I think my students and I and everyone benefits from being reminded that we never know a score. That's the way I would answer that question. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be dodgy. I think whether you're coming back to a score that you've done many times or you're starting afresh, it's all about the process of discovery. And so few people seem to know how to ask questions that might lead them down a path that would make the storytelling that we do from the podium richer, and that's the part that we keep focusing on. So I think it takes some humility to come back to a piece that you think you know really well and start afresh, but I think that's what the profession demands of us. Like, I'm thinking when you said that, like the pieces that I really know well, there's certainly a handful of pieces that I feel like I could stand up right now and conduct the whole rehearsal without a score. Appalachian Spring would be on the list. Probably Mr. Tambourine Man would be on the list. Rite of Spring would be on the list. Daphnis. There's a few big pieces that I really am close to. But I cannot tell you how much I love the idea of like starting over and opening up the score again and thinking maybe I missed it. Maybe I need to try again. In fact, along those lines, a couple times I've just bought new scores to force myself not to go back to my old markings and then not fall into those patterns, so. And of course, sometimes I'm just in the weeds and I'm behind, and so I cheat like everybody else, and I'm faking, but I try not to.
Yeah. So you're saying that conductors need to be more humble? Is that what I'm hearing?
Especially in the face of these composers, that give us so much. I mean, when you're working with people like Stravinsky and Kevin Putz, and you're talking to these incredible musicians, our job is to kind of shepherd that to the audience and not mess it up. But that involves a great deal of time in understanding that what's written on the page is really like a script. That's really what it is. It's like a script, and you're kind of the director that needs to take that script and get it all the way to the audience. And that is an immense and beautiful responsibility,
Yeah.
And it's one that I take very seriously.
So I was reading your bio this morning just to refresh, and I saw something about a score study and interpretation book.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I have several chapters of it written and so forth, and it's something that's really important to me and very close to me. And when I have been writing, I have loved working on it. The ideas seem to come really fast. I was worried that I would have sort of writer's block or something. Sorry about my dryer over there. Playing some music for you.
Yeah.
But I guess people who know me are like, oh yeah, no always has something to say. So there's never a problem. So when I'm writing, the ideas come fast. And so far, I wrote a story about my participation in a rodeo when I was young, which I thought was kind of when I think about it, was my entry into conducting in a sense. You'd have to read the story to understand why I feel that way. But and then my first time on the stage as a singer-actor, and how I threw up, in my debut performance as a child in Babes in Toyland. I went out and yacked on the stage during my big solo. And, these are the kinds of gems you expect from a conducting book.
Right.
But my book is, I really want it to be very different. I've read almost every conducting book that's out there, and it's not the type of book that I'm interested in writing. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for something, first of all, that really focuses a lot of its content on score study and interpretation, because I know how important that is. But I also am looking for something that's small, that's memorable, and it's somewhere between a book on conducting and like Rilke's Letters to a Young Poet. It's somewhere between those two,
Yeah.
I want like a small paperback where every page is dog-eared and somebody like circled that thing and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they throw it in the suitcase because maybe after rehearsal one day really didn't feel good and they didn't feel like they did a good job. They just turn to that one page and they go, right, yes, That's the kind of book I'm trying to write. Not a book that tells you where to stand and point your hands. I'm not interested in that.
I love that. Yeah, we've got plenty of the other books.
And I don't know that, to me, that I'm not sure that's the soul of conducting.
Yeah.
At the very least, it isn't what I want to write about. So.
Yeah, I think conducting happens up in here a lot more than it happens in here. Yeah.
When it's up here and you understand, When you understand, then it goes to here. And when it goes here, then you can work on the craft of getting it to somebody. And on the best days, you get them here. That's what it's all about, It's a lot of work.
It is a
hard
lot.
What we do,
Yeah. Every new score, I start at the piano. I start without a recording, and then, like you said, the time just sneaks up. It's like I just need to know what this sounds like.
I understand.
Yeah. And you're teaching at UMKC now, is that right?
I am. This is my second year. I'm super happy, and obviously I wish it hadn't got cut so short in terms of like hands-on in-person music making, but we'll be back soon, a few more months we'll be back. I'm really hoping for the start of the semester, and I'm really looking forward to it. I just, I feel like I've grown a lot during lockdown, and I was sort of determined not to let that slip by without any kind of personal growth, and I've tried really hard to stay present and not lose my way, and some days I've succeeded and some days I haven't. But I do feel like I'm a better conductor now than I was, and it's interesting to me and not surprising that I haven't conducted at all. Last time I conducted was I did a Mahler 5 at Carnegie Mellon. I was guest conducting there, and I think that may have been the last time I was on the box, and it was a great joy. I loved doing it. But I'm convinced a year later, even without being up there, I'm a better conductor. I know I am largely because I teach all the time, and that's that's what makes you a better musician, and that's what makes you clearer. When you try to teach and something you say sounds like complete BS, you can hear it in the space. You're like, well, that's just a bunch of nonsense. I have to figure out how to say that better than that. That was just silly, So hopefully I'm not worse anyway. We'll see.
I got to do Take Me Out to the Ball Game in July. That's the only conducting I've done. So it's good 3 minutes of podium time.
I got you.
We didn't. I think we ran it once from the rehearsal, and it was like, that's all we've got time for.
Well, you want to really mess them up, run it at one tempo, and then at the show, kick it off at a completely different tempo and put a bunch of rubato in it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Which, if you have good command of the use of space, you can actually do. That's one of the great things, that if you really focus on the fundamentals, you don't have to do everything the same way every single time, You can actually move in a way that people can follow you in real time and be more spontaneous, not just to your whim and fancy, but because music is a living thing, and one retard is inspired by what happened before it, and if that thing before it went a little different, then that needs to go a little different, which is why I don't like just planning every little thing and having it be always exactly the same. I don't think that's the best way for music.
Absolutely. Kevin, do you have anything else you'd like to share with our audience tuning in today and in the future on watching the replay?
I'm just glad people are interested in I'm glad that particular one that you said gets downloaded a lot, and I'm glad. I will tell you that I'm working on a video series also on score study and interpretation that is for sale through Manhattan Concert Productions. Manhattan Concert Productions. So if you look there, I've done the first video on this, and that's getting really good feedback. I call the first one Noticing, which is sort of about the art of how you gather information from the score. The second one that I'm working on now, which is really the most important part, is called Deciding, which is how you actually make decisions. Like the phrase goes there, why? Or shorter here, why? Or this voice leading here, why? Like that's really the soul of it, and that's the second one that I'm going to be posting soon. Yeah. The third one, which is going to be on rehearsing, I'll need a live orchestra for, but I think the timing will work out pretty well because I'm hoping to film it with members of the UMKC orchestra, and I'll put that up soon. So anybody that's interested, anyway, you can find it there, and that's a good start on the things that I tend to grouse about on a daily basis.
What was the site one more time?
Manhattan Concert Productions. And there is a series that they have called Forward Motion, which is all about these sort of online little presentations from teachers all over the country on various topics, and I'm one of the contributors to this. So
awesome! Looking forward to it.
You can see me there complaining about score study.
We'll share that as well, and when you've got information for the symposium, send that along, and we'll be very happy to share that too.
I will do. Yeah, I think it's going to be second week of March. I think maybe March 11th. I think it'll start.
Oh, Oh, okay. So
it'll
really
be online,
recent.
and it'll be cheap, because you're not going in person. I think it's like $150 for a whole week or something.
I can get on that train.
Hey, thanks for having me, gentlemen. It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
And it'll be nice to have Carolyn follow me. So we're neighbors now, as it were. So
it's like, what, 45 minutes between
something
you two?
like, yeah. Well, thanks for having me, gents. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And let's welcome Carolyn whenever she's ready. There we are.
Hello.
Hey guys, how are you? Nice
Good.
To see you. And
Awesome. I realized earlier I should have put you and Thomas closer together. We have 3 Lake Kansas area conductors coming on live today. I didn't think about that.
I mean, the Midwest is very clearly where it's at.
Yeah.
As you both know, I mean,
Yeah. So, again, for those just joining us, we are on the phone with Carolyn Watson. This is Podium Time episode 100, the live stream extravaganza. And we're celebrating 100 episodes and raising money for the Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. So we've got the links to the Chicago Sinfonietta website in the comments pinned. Please head over there, donate to the fantastic fellowship. And chicagosinfonietta.org/donate. So it's pretty easy. Just open a new tab, type that in, and we appreciate everyone being here, and we appreciate you joining us today, Carolyn.
Oh, I mean, it's so great to see both of you again. It was I was trying to think how long it was since we did that original. It was kind of one of the early episodes. I think like episode 22. Maybe?
I think it was either 22 or 24. It was definitely in the 20s. Yeah, and I think you had just started at KU then, or very, very recently.
I had accepted the job, and I was going to move. It was the summer before I moved. Yeah, because we spoke from Texas. I distinctly recall.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how many years have you been teaching there now?
So this is my 3rd year at KU now.
Mm-hmm. And end of the 3rd year?
Middle of the 3rd year.
Middle of the 3rd year. Okay.
Well, a little more than middle. So, closer to the end than the beginning, at least, anyways.
And you've got doctoral students there. That's awesome.
It is, and that was certainly for me one of the most interesting things about leading an orchestral position in a flagship institution, an R1 institution, is really to be able to develop a wonderful graduate conducting studio. And I think and I hope we're sort of on the path to doing that. Yeah.
That's awesome. We've looked at KU because my fiance is a music therapist, and if there's a school to go for music therapy, it's also KU. But yeah, that's awesome. And you're also running the Maestro as Professor program, right? Or these series of. Could you talk about that quick?
Sure. So, I mean, I guess like you guys and like all of your other guests and so many people, I found myself with a whole lot more free time in 2020 than expected. My whole freelance guest conducting engagements were pretty much wiped clean. And, I guess like a lot of conductors, we're used to being very proactive, very busy, very engaged. So this was a project that I developed with a colleague of mine, Chao Wen-Ting from the Georgia Institute of Technology. And, we basically put our heads together and, she was like, I think, everyone's doing like podcasts and webinars, should we do one as well? It's like, okay, well, what could we possibly do? Where's the gap in the market, as it were? And the two of us, and I think also maybe not insignificantly, but the two of us not originally coming from the United States, we've had to learn a whole lot about the U.S. collegiate and university environment. And I mean, Chowen studied here in the U.S., but I, as you probably remember, I'm a much more recent import, as it were, just coming across 2013 for the position at Interlochen. So we kind of thought, and it seemed that there was a whole lot of information that the two of us felt we've gained over the course of our career journeys and our paths that is really not taught in schools, like so many of the things you actually kind of need to know how to do in order to succeed in life. So we came up with this idea of an original webinar series targeted at conductors, young conductors, graduate conductors, freelance conductors, perhaps really anybody looking for a collegiate position and how to navigate that job market. Because at least from my own conducting studies, I would say they were more geared towards the professional domain. And certainly while there are a lot of similarities and commonalities, and obviously the repertoire is the same, there's a whole lot of kind of industry knowledge and, where to look and what certain things mean and different types of jobs. So, yeah, we did this original summer series of Maestro as Professor, which was very, very successful. So successful, in fact, we decided to do a follow-up series in winter. And that was also based on some feedback we got from a number of the membership there that wanted to know more about, how to actually kind of make those and take those first steps. How do you actually get into, the world, the realm of the conductor? It's one thing to go to school, but then how to make that transition and how to also kind of make your application stand out from the 658 other applications.
Only 658? That seems low.
Yeah, I don't think they advertised the position very well. But yeah, so we did that, and we've certainly spoken about, other possible follow-ups and feedback, that we might see what we can do with both of our schedules there. But yeah, it was really great for us, and I can't remember the exact statistics, but I think we had over 350 or so viewers from 30 countries, 5 continents. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we had people sort of, having their breakfast in Australia at 6 a.m. and people in the UK in their slippers and pajamas with their hot chocolate at 11 p.m. And so, yeah, it was really, really nice. And I think it felt very good to be part of to perhaps even create an online learning community in that regard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad to hear that you're going to be doing it again. I was able to go to the first session at the last time, but I wasn't able to go to any of the others. So I'm really glad I'm going to get another chance to hop in there. What are some of the... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, sorry, I've got a very itchy nose, strangely enough. All of the resources and webinars you can actually download from the website there. So for those people who may be listening kind of thinking, oh, that sounds really interesting, simply Googling Maestro as Professor will take you to our site, which is hosted at the Georgia Institute of Technology, and there's a lot of hopefully helpful resources there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeremy.
Maybe we can have the two of you on the podcast a couple of weeks before that comes out. Definitely, make sure more people are aware of that resource. I'm going to be hopping in again this year. Could you, for the people listening, could you just summarize maybe what are the top couple things that people should consider if they're looking at becoming a college orchestra director in the next couple of years?
Oh, wow. No pressure or anything. The point that we made about, how to make your application stand out is a very important one. Yeah. And certainly if you are currently in school at the moment, it's a very good time to be in school, in fact. Just with the pandemic and the really sort of challenging situation with respect to higher ed, and a lot of universities have temporary hiring freezes with respect to positions. They're holding off on advertising positions that would otherwise be advertised. So I think, my advice would be to be as absolutely proactive as you possibly can, work to develop your, I don't want to say marketability, but I would say, skills and diverse range of interests, and basically all of the things that make you really interesting and much more interesting than applicant A and applicant B and applicant C and D and all of the other people. And I think all of those things are in addition to your formal schooling and training. And I think that's a very important dynamic. And I think one kind of silver lining of this really challenging and very difficult time that we've just had with the pandemic and are still having is the availability of online resources and access to people and information in a way that perhaps wasn't there before. Because I mean, in the same way that you guys are doing this Facebook Live, I mean, I've watched Esa Pekka and Alan Gilbert and Daniel Harding and Maren Alsop.
Yeah, I watched those too.
Yeah, all of those wonderful, wonderful people, so everyone has found themselves in a similar situation. So I think access to all manner of different conductors and what they have to offer is something that everybody can absolutely take in. And I mean, most of those things are like lurking online somewhere, and you can, even if you didn't catch them live, you can rewatch them. But yeah, it's certainly been a challenge, and I think for at least the foreseeable future, it's going to look a little bit the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So throughout with you just kind of taking this job just a few years ago, how have you had to kind of quickly adjust your teaching style with your conducting students through the pandemic?
I mean, I think we've been relatively fortunate with respect to at least a number of other colleagues I've got throughout the country, in that at KU we've been able to meet in person with the orchestra. And actually also this year we started up a second orchestra, which in effect is the lab orchestra for my graduate conducting studios. So in that aspect, in that respect, they've still been able to benefit from real-time on-person podium experience, whereas I know a number of conductors throughout the country where schools and institutions have said actually maximum 8 people or maximum 12 people in a room. That's been a much more, challenging situation. Also, I mean, obviously we have our own challenges in that it's sort of, almost it feels like from here to Australia between the podium and the timpani. So there is that, that distance, that delay, which needs to be navigated. And again, it's like sort of, the expanse from like Los Angeles to New York, from one end of the violin section to the other end of the violin section, with everybody meeting and seated 6 feet apart. But, I think one thing it most certainly does do is to force us to be better conductors, to be clearer conductors, to work much harder with what we've got in order to try to, make an ensemble out of really such a distanced setting, so that when the time comes that we are able to go back to, being seated in a more typical configuration, I think, first of all, everyone's going to breathe a sigh of relief. But, it's like when you've been challenged with such a big obstacle, everything after it then just feels so much easier. At least that's what I keep telling myself anyway. That's my hope. So we'll see whether I'm right about that.
I know it's I work with a small community orchestra up in Sedalia, and we haven't really been able to do full orchestra concerts, but we've been doing a lot of chamber music. Mm-hmm. And I know like the distance between the musicians has been a big challenge for the musicians themselves, just because all of a sudden these people that they kind of relied on to hear and stay with, all of a sudden everybody's further apart, and it kind of forces them to really focus on not only playing their part but listening to each other as well. And I'm kind of hoping that this whole experience will just, when we do actually come back together, it's going to be like a whole different experience.
It will, and in the best possible way, because I think, until something like this happens, none of us probably ever took for granted or, realized how fortunate we were to have that opportunity. And, conductors generally realize when they are able to work with an orchestra. I mean, obviously that's a very fortunate position in and of itself to be in. But yeah, I guess until, some really very, very unusual events and circumstances like we've just or are still living through, that comes, it's really forces you to rethink and reframe kind of everything, I think, and everything that we did up until now. It's like, gosh, well, okay, we've got to do something completely different going forward.
Yeah, I think it can definitely be a good thing to have everything uprooted and, oh God, we got to start over. But now we can look at, what really matters. There may be some things that we thought were assumptions that turn out to not be necessary.
Yeah, and I think there's certainly a conversation that has been started as a result of the pandemic, and exactly what you mentioned, Jeremy. Like, this is a very good time, and it actually needs to happen in so many ways in terms of forging a more inclusive way forward, and one that's going to hopefully result in the long-term sustainability of classical music, orchestral ensembles, and arts organizations in this country and throughout the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that classical music in a concert hall is something that a lot of us really took for granted. And now that it's been, taken away from us, I think when it comes back, we're going to kind of appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
I certainly know I will. Yeah. And it's just going to be a delight. Like you say, when that time comes, and hopefully that time's going to come sooner rather than later. But obviously we just need to be patient with respect to vaccine rollouts and do everything that needs to be done in order to keep every member of our community safe.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything else you want to share with those listening?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Could have pre-prepared a sales pitch. I don't think so. I mean, we've spoken about Maestro as professor. There's these couple of great guys that I know that have got this Podium Time webcast. So if you haven't tuned into them, tune into them. You might learn a whole lot. Yeah. It's been great talking to you both. Lovely to see you again.
It's so good to see you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Luke and Jeremy. And congrats to all of you, both of you, on what you've achieved with Podium Time. And happy birthday. Has there been a ceremonial singing of the happy birthday, or is that coming at the end?
Oh, yeah, we have that planned for the end. Yeah, we're going to get a whole choir into Zoom, and we're going to...
Well, we actually do have a song, though.
We do have a song, yes. Yeah, okay. Somebody did send us a song, so we'll share that at the end.
I'll make it a point to tune back in there at the end.
Yeah.
Full voice and all of the rest of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us for episode 100. It is our 3.5-year-ish birthday. We're about 3.5 years also, so there's that that milestone as well, but not as attractive as 100.
Well, happy birthday again to both of you, and thanks for having me on, and look forward to listening to the rest of the show.
Absolutely. Maybe we should play this song now. We're a couple minutes ahead of schedule, actually, so let me find that. Just since we've been mentioning it, and it's ready.
Ooh.
Here we go. This is the Podium Time Blues by Maestro Mark Mandarano from episode 4 of the podcast.
My friend Luke and Jeremy, they're really a blast. They started a little thing they call the podcast. I was the fourth one on it. Our outscore study, they wondered. Now I can't believe it's about to be 100. Oh, look into me. Won't you give me more podium time? Stuck here any longer, I'm just about to
Congratulations to Luke and Jeremy on 100 episodes of Podium Time. That's the Podium Time Blues.
So there's our happy birthday song.
Love it. And the sort of winning line in there is "Give me more podium time," which is the catchphrase of like every conductor in the world, right?
I remember sitting at a workshop being like, I want to start a podcast. What the hell do we call it? Yeah. And then a year later, I was like, oh my God, Podium Time. That's it. Awesome. Well, Carolyn, thanks again so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Luke and Jeremy.
Awesome. Bye-bye. All right, I had meant to actually put the Podium Time Blues lyrics into the comments, so I'm going to do that now. We can play it again later if anyone... Let's see. Okay, Podium Time Blues lyrics are going into the comments. We can play that one again later, just because it's so great. Really was not expecting a song. Alrighty, we have 2 more guests coming. The first of those 2 is one of my favorite sets of episodes we've recorded on the podcast. Tito Muñoz. Tito, if you would join us whenever you're ready. I had an incredible time talking with Tito last year, a couple of years ago at some point, about just so much. Hey there, how you doing?
Hey, how are you guys?
Very, very good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
The pleasure. It's good to be here, and it's congratulations.
Thank you.
Episodes. It's an amazing feat, and it's amazing because you were my first experience with Zoom.
Oh, really?
Before Zoom was a thing. And then I was like, what is this? And now Zoom is our lives. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I think we started using it a couple months before. Right. Yeah. So now suddenly everyone knew what Zoom was. And yeah, I remember having to type out instructions on how to use Zoom. All you got to do is you just got to click the link and it opens it up and then you're perfect. And now, of course, I'm like, here's the Zoom link, whatever. Yeah, bye. So for those just joining us, this is Podium Time episode 100 Livestream Extravaganza. We're celebrating our 100th episode. 3.5 years ago we launched, and we are raising money for the Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. There is a link to that in the comments, so please head over there. Support that fantastic program. And we are now here speaking with live Q&A with Tito Muñoz, so please put your questions in the comments. And we're going to talk with Tito for a little bit. Tito is music director of the Phoenix Symphony on Podium Time, I think. 2 episodes in the 60s, but we talked about, and you really kind of blew my mind because you finally made it clear to me that musicianship and leadership are a lot more important than actually what you do with the baton. And just, having that base, because you came from a playing background, and I love that your hypothetical audition for your hypothetical conducting students would be here's a string quartet, coach them. You're not allowed to conduct, just make them sound better than they do right now. I take that with me every day. I love that.
I mean, it's I think it's a lot of the skills that, as I talked about, I think in the episode, and as I usually talk about whenever I talk about this thing, is a lot of the skills that end up informing physically what you do, for people, comes from all of that other stuff. It comes from how you deal with them on a psychological level, and it comes with how you deal with them on a musicianship level, knowing exactly what they're going through and how to achieve, how to get them to do what it is that you want them to do. So.
And so last time we talked, you were preparing your new Rite of Spring edition. What's been new with you for the past couple of years?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you talked about that, because I've been back and forth very recently with Clinton Niewick, who is the editor of the most recent critical edition of the Rite of Spring. They're coming out with a new edition. They're a new, completely engraved new edition. It's still different from mine, because mine is a little bit more personalized for what I do. But we've had an opportunity to go back and forth, and he shared with me some of the drafts and some of the things that he's been doing, and it looks really, really good. So this is going to be a nice thing to have for the music world and the orchestra world. Is this new really clean, beautiful edition of the Rite of Spring. So little pitch for that whenever it comes out. It's supposed to come out later this year. But as Carolyn talked about, it was really cool to see Carolyn, because I haven't seen Carolyn in a while now, but we first met at Aspen.
Really?
Actually. She was a fellow there when I was there as well. And then we crossed paths randomly at IU. I was guest conducting there, and she was invited by Meister Efron to do a workshop, a class presentation to the conducting students about her research on Carlos Kleiber. And so it was really, really interesting to kind of see her work on that. And so it's really nice to see her on this and connect with her as well. But as Carolyn was saying, there's this pandemic has brought a lot of things to light. The things that we haven't thought about. It's certainly questioned our own existence, because I think conductors are probably the most useless people during a pandemic. And there's no you don't have anybody to work with, and and unfortunately my orchestra, Phoenix, was one of the orchestras that was really sidelined by the pandemic. We had to cancel our season, and so there hasn't been activity, performing activity rather, and so. One of the things that has been really great with my orchestra is that we've had an opportunity, especially in the very beginning of the pandemic, when we were all kind of just figuring out what this was and what this was going to be, to actually connect with each other in different ways. Being on Zoom with each other and just talking. It's something you don't do with your orchestra. You never do. You have your rehearsals. You maybe talk to people off the podium every once in a while, but you never just have these sessions where you just all of you in a room just let's just talk about what's going on, talk about how we're doing, how we're feeling. It's just not something that's done very often, and that has been really, really interesting and really good to kind of create a different kind of relationship with the players, even among each other as well, because there's a lot of stuff that went on during the summer, a lot of civil unrest, social justice, and even just being able to discuss these topics with each other has been really interesting and positive, and I think that will really change the dynamic of everybody's relationship with each other once we do come back, in the fall. I think it's going to be a different thing. So that's been really positive. I'm really grateful that silver lining in all of this. And then aside from that, it's been a lot of guest lectures on Zoom, because that's about a lot of there's some institutions, especially schools like Carolyn's, that have been able to play and been able to perform and have found safe ways of doing things, and there are a lot of schools that haven't, that just don't have the ability because of various reasons, maybe government restrictions or whatever. And so I've had the opportunity to work with a few institutions that way through Zoom, guest lecturing. I was just with Curtis yesterday, and NYU earlier in the season, and I work a lot with Jeff Meyer at ASU. And actually they're live with their studio orchestra, with their studio ensemble. So I actually am on Zoom coaching the students with Jeff every once in a while, which has been really great. And then I'm one of the lucky few that has actually been able to get some guest conducting work with orchestras that have been working and have been able to perform. Earlier in the season, I was with the Detroit Symphony. I was just with the New York Philharmonic last week, and that's going to be pushed out in their new streaming platform later, I guess in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I was in France. I was able to travel to France and work with an orchestra in Paris early in January. And so, those handful of gigs I've been very grateful for, because it's just keeping a connection with music making and with people, and I think has been helpful just psychologically and personally. So
I think those online classes are the only thing that we are good for when we can't meet in person.
Right.
But we can give lectures. I'll give all the lectures I can.
Sure. All day, every day, right.
Yeah, I saw that the New York Phil is starting up a new streaming service. So that seems like another thing that maybe wouldn't have been happening if it weren't for the pandemic. So I think that's another silver lining.
Right. That's very true, and they're doing it really, really beautifully. And some orchestras have, there's some orchestras that have already had it. Detroit Symphony, for example, that's why they were able to pivot very fast. They've been able to work since the beginning of the season because they already had this infrastructure there. It's very expensive, obviously. Yeah. And so some orchestras have been able to do it. A lot of them have not. And so it's, there's always questions about quality and, contracts and rights and all, it's very, very complicated. It's not easy for a lot of orchestras to be able to do it. So it's very fortunate for those that can and have the resources and have the wherewithal to be able to do it.
Absolutely. And then before we move on, the one thing I wanted to ask is in the new Rite of Spring, have they fixed the triplets, or did they leave the triplets? The
which
the 104. We talked about it in the episode. The bump bump bump. Oh God, let me find it. I'm embarrassing myself.
I mean, when you show it to me, I'm sure I'll know right away what you mean.
There it is. The and then when it comes back, it's triplets and some of the lower voices later on.
I don't know.
So the rehearsal 104, the evidence that rehearsal 104 is the. Oh, I'll find it.
Luke, are you talking about the division of the bar? Is that what you're talking about? Or?
No, I'll find it.
Okay.
I'll find it. Luke, do we have any? Oh, rehearsal 121.
Oh, 121. Yeah,
right there.
Yeah. No, I mean, Clint already changed it in the Calmus. The new Calmus.
Okay.
It's already. So yeah. No, he actually.
Two out then.
Yeah, and he includes the like a footnote saying. Mm. The Boozy has it as triplets, but the real thing is the 6/2/8 in the quarter note. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
These are the things, people.
These are the things. They're important things, you know. If you listen to the version on, because I think that Boozy version, I think was done. I don't remember if it was done before or after the Fantasia, the original Fantasia, where they have this. And I know Stokowski, with the way they did it to match the dinosaurs, was beep bop ba, like literally that slow. Oh. Yeah, like it's dictated. And it's I mean, completely wrong, but that's what they did. That's how it goes.
We have a hello to Tito from Maestro Carl Topolo in the comments.
Of course.
So Maestro Topolo, well, hello.
Yeah, well, hello. Yeah, no, Carl is wonderful, and we've known each other since I started I was assistant conductor in Cleveland from 07 to 10, and then I lived in Cleveland for a couple of years after that too, and so he was very generous, giving us young assistants an opportunity to conduct the CIM Institute Orchestra. Every year, actually, we each had a concert with them every year. That's awesome. And really generous with the repertoire and everything. And he's definitely a favorite for me, for sure, because he has a great program, or had a great program, and then going to Breckenridge and working with his NRO was really great too. So he's a wonderful guy, and I had him in Phoenix as well, which was really great. So he could reunite with some of the folks in Phoenix that were either CIM or NRO. Or NRO alum, so it's a nice family.
Yeah, I'm in Denver, so I was in Breckenridge a couple years ago. I don't remember which year, but he did gorgeous Shostakovich piano concerto. I think one of the ones he wrote for his son, and it was just an incredible concert. It's a great music festival.
Yep, it's a wonderful.
Yeah. Have you been playing much violin?
Not as much as I would have thought, considering the circumstances. I used to do it as a connection with, usually what I was conducting. Whether like going through parts, going through, that was usually how I would do it, and then just practicing here and there. But I don't know. Recently, I haven't. I think when the pandemic hit, I did play a little bit, and it wasn't bringing me as much joy as it had in the past. And I don't know if there was a weird psychological block because of just the lack of music in general that we were all experiencing. And so I know others have actually found respite in it, but it actually was a little bit of the opposite for me. So I haven't been playing as much as I would have thought I would be, because that was usually something that I did almost every day. On a regular basis. So
yeah. We have a comment from Kevin No, and we may have talked about this when you and I did our interview, but he says, I wish we could fix the fundamental misunderstanding about the lengths of the 8ths and 16ths in the sacrificial dance. It isn't a problem with the markings, it's a problem with our understanding.
I'm assuming he's of the camp that the 8ths with the carets should be as short as the 16ths with the carets.
I don't know. I don't want to guess what Kevin would guess.
Yeah, no, but that's sort of my take on it. Is that it should be just like 180. 180. It's written correctly. I think as 16th notes, and that at one in the beginning of the thing, it's 142 and 167. I believe those are the two sections should be the same. So the 3/16 should be. Yes. So he agrees with me. Good. Okay.
Says, yeah.
So, yeah. Exactly. No. Absolutely. And that's interesting because he did it because the original, of course, he wrote as 16th notes all the way through, and he wrote it as 5 bars of 5 and 3 as opposed to 2, 3, 3. And it was just him, tweaking it, removing the pizzicatos, changing the dynamics, changing all sorts of things to try to make it easier to read to a certain extent. But then he would get frustrated because it was still difficult for people, and which is why it's problematic. It's very problematic because then he made that 43 revision, which nobody plays and nobody really knows about, and that makes everything even more problematic because he does actually answer questions in that one that are questions in the original, but then he also creates other problems because he has a different concept of sound, and so it's one of those things where at this point you kind of just do whatever you're really compelled to do, and just that's it. That's the piece for you. That's what the piece will be at the performance. Do it from a place of knowledge, obviously, but you're going to have to just make decisions and just believe in it and do it.
Damn it, Stravinsky! Come on, man.
Yeah.
Did Stravinsky ever record it conducting?
Yeah, many times. He recorded it many times. And he was one of the earliest recordings, actually, 1924. He had 2 very, very early recordings that are really not very good. Just because the orchestras, he couldn't conduct it very well, and the orchestras weren't as good. And then he made a couple of recordings with the revised Sacrificial Dance, with the 1943 version. So that Columbia Symphony recording, that's kind of the Stravinsky conducts Stravinsky is the famous one, has that revised Sacrificial Dance that you'd have to rent in order to get from Boozy. So he's done it many times. Montu has done it many times as well. You can gain some insight from both of their performances, because even with the limitations that they have as conductors. Montu, even with the complicated rhythms, he had problems with it. And David Zimin, who was one of my mentors, my kind of main mentor, was student of Montu and actually prepared the Rite of Spring for Montu many times. He did it for the 50th anniversary with the London Symphony, and he recalls Montu having still kind of conducting that sacrificial dance sort of with phrasing and not so much with very precise rhythm. So the orchestras were kind of flowing through these phrases more than really being very precise. So it is what it is.
Yeah. It's a wide world.
It is.
It's one of those things where I always forget how deep just this one piece can go, and all the different recordings, all the different versions. And it's like I'm so glad that every piece isn't like that.
Well, most, but they can be. It really just depends on how deep you want to go. There's always questions. The moment you get a manuscript, it's wonderful. You can talk about Mozart and talk about how he would write out forte piano over 2 bars, and you get a Baronet edition. It's FP on 1 note, but sometimes that actually means diminuendo, or that means a gesture, or you can literally go down the rabbit hole with just about anything. And it all comes down to just making a really believable interpretation that speaks to you and speaks to the orchestra, and then in turn will then speak to the audience.
Absolutely. Well, Tito, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything to plug? Anything else you'd like to share with our live stream audience?
No. Wear your mask. Stay safe. Get a vaccine when it's your time. And let's get back to connecting and being physically with each other as soon as we can. That's going to be my offering for the day.
Well, I'm looking forward to the New York Phil streaming site. That's really, really awesome news, and that you're one of the early ones on that is
And actually that's going to be a nice program too, because it's Appalachian Spring, the 13 instruments, which took a bit, is as wide as a Mahler symphony because of the distance. The winds are 12 feet apart, and but it's great, and they play it obviously amazingly. And Unanswered Question, Quiet City, a piece by William Grant Still, Out of the Silence, beautiful piece, and then Zodiac Suite, 4 movements of Zodiac Suite by Mary Lou Williams, who's a jazz pianist who has this arrangement of this thing. Really, really great music. So yeah, look out for it in a couple of weeks. It should come out.
Awesome. We will. Again, thanks so much for your time. It was great to see you.
Take care, guys, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Awesome. All right, we are on our last live Q&A. We have a comment. We have another comment from Kevin about about the Rite of Spring. Alrighty, and we have our last Q&A. Good friend of mine, Maestro Brett Mitchell. Brent, join us whenever you're ready. Look, there he is.
The magic of if you are a conductor and you don't have timing, I'm not entirely sure what you're doing.
So, for those just joining us, we are here for Podium Time episode 100 live stream extravaganza, celebrating 100 episodes and raising money for the Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. Link to donate is in the comments or at chicagosinfonietta.org/donate. It's a great program. And right after our talk with Brett, we'll be showing a brand new interview with Mayanne Chen, their music director, talking about the program and some other great stuff. So we'll introduce that very soon. But first, Brett, thanks so much for joining us today.
My great pleasure to be here, and congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think your interview was in the 30s. You were like a medium guest. I think we talked right when you were starting at Colorado Symphony.
I think that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and we had met the summer. We'd met the summer before, and I think Carl Topolo was watching at the National Repertory concert. So that was.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, love to Carl if he's watching.
I think Kevin should still be watching.
And love to Kevin. Love to everybody. I'm glad I'm not conducting right now.
Yeah. So what's been new with you? What have you been doing for the past year?
You know, what I've been doing for the past year is, I think, what a lot of people have been doing for the past year that have been in my position and fortunate to be, invited to places, is going through the same routine of 6, 7, 8, up to a dozen drafts of a program before it ultimately just gets canceled. Yeah. I will say I have done more what ultimately ended up being busy work, trying to rejigger programs and move things around, and if it can't be this, can it be this? And the vast majority of those things just have not panned out. I will say I have been fortunate to conduct 4 concerts over the last year, which is terrifying to say. No, since this all started last March, I had finished that morning. I had finished a dress rehearsal with the San Antonio Symphony, and then instead of giving the performances, I flew right home. That was March 13th when everything shut down, and since then, I have only conducted 4 live performances, and all 4 of those live performances were the same weekend with the same orchestra. That was the Fort Worth Symphony back in October, end of October, beginning of November, which was great. It was the Bernstein Serenade with Karen Gomio, which was wonderful, and Mozart Jupiter Symphony. And I remember saying to the Fort Worth Symphony at the time, because I had a gig coming up in Spain after that. I had some performances with the Cleveland Orchestra lined up after that. I said to the Fort Worth Symphony when I was with them, I said, listen, if the last 6 or 7 months have taught me nothing, it's that I have no idea when I'm going to get to do this again. And in fact, I didn't have either of those opportunities in Spain or Cleveland because of the thing that has been keeping us all apart from these opportunities to share this wonderful music with people. So I was able to do those 4 performances, and it was really something because I had gone from like the first 7 or 8 months of COVID being just me and Angela, my wife Angela, here at the house, to all of a sudden I was in a room with like 50 other people rehearsing. And then for the performances, there were like, I think there were like 450 people in the house. Which like on a normal weekend would be dismal. We'd be like, oh my God, what happened? But all of a sudden, after being in a room with literally my wife for the better part of, 2/3 of a year, to then be in a room with like 500 people sharing music was like unimaginably powerful. It was so great. I mean, I've been playing a lot of, you asked what I've been doing. I've been recording a lot at home on the piano, which has been great. But if I wanted to be a pianist, I would have been a pianist. That's not why I got into what I got into. So I've been sharing a lot of music at home on my YouTube channel, which has been wonderful. But, the conducting has been few and far between. I've done a couple of recording projects with the Colorado Symphony. We don't know when those will be released. But we did a project together back at the beginning of January. We did a project together again at the beginning of February. So there's stuff in the can. It's just a question of when it finds its way out.
Yeah, the new virtual stage with Colorado Symphony.
That's right. That's exactly right. Good plug. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that you're able to do those concerts, and the 400 just. I mean, the first thing I think is like, wow, that's so many people. We only had like 100 at a thing, but then when you compare it to a regular subscription or even.
Well, and they had to move venues, the Fort Worth Symphony did. They were supposed to be in their home venue of Bass Concert Hall, or Bass Performance Hall, I guess it's called. And instead we had to go out to I don't remember what exactly it was, but it was basically on the fairgrounds in Fort Worth. It was a real concert hall, but it was I have never had to drive, because I drove from Denver to Fort Worth. I have never had to drive to get to my dressing room past signs that say cows this way, sheep this way, pigs this way. I was like, there's all sorts of Animal Farm metaphors here for the orchestra, but I'm not going anywhere near it.
Yeah. We just got Carl confirm that he is still here.
Bless you, Carl.
And he says nobody conducts movies with orchestra like Brett.
You're very kind to say so. I enjoy it an awful lot.
And I do agree. I mean, I've seen a couple Star Wars under your baton.
It's about as much fun as a kid that was born in the late 70s that does what I do for a living can have. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm here for the Mahler and the Stravinsky and, the Missy Mazzoli just like everybody else is. But there's... Man, just for sheer fun and terror and adrenaline, because conducting movies, the show don't stop. That movie is going to keep running whether you're with it or not. But that's always a thrill for me. I should say not always. There are some films that I don't need to do again. But there's films that I've been really lucky to do. I've done Home Alone 3 times, and for me. I was 11 years old when Home Alone came out in 1990, and my whole family, so I'm the oldest of 3 boys, my mom, my dad, and my 3 brothers, or the 3 of us boys, all went to see on New Year's Eve of 1990. We went to go see Home Alone. And to show you what the target demographic I was as an 11-year-old boy, I went back the next day by myself to see it again. I thought it was the funniest thing I had ever seen. And of course, I didn't know back then that all the music that I was growing up with, all those movies, Star Wars and Superman and Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park and all that, I didn't really put together that was all John Williams, until much later. And now here I am, conducting all of this great music. So It's amazing.
The Home Alone soundtrack is one that I think surprises a lot of people.
Yeah.
Go listen to Home Alone. It's the music is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. I mean, he wrote so many lovely little things. But I'll tell you a thing about, so just since we're talking about conducting for films, what's so funny is people think that the action pictures, like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, something like that, are the challenging ones. And maybe for the orchestra, that's true, just from a pure stamina perspective. But honestly, with most action scores, like an action score is all about momentum. And the only way you convey momentum is if you have some constant rhythm going. And constant rhythm is easy. You just ride the rhythm and you just go at the tempo. Conducting Home Alone is much harder. The last like 2.5, last 3 reels maybe, like the whole attack on the house, is nothing but what we call Mickey Mousing, right? Like when somebody slips, the music goes whoop, and when somebody falls, the music goes boom. And it is so much harder to do that because, with like the Desert Chase and Raiders, the tempo gradually increases over like the 8 or 9 minutes of the scene, whatever it is. With conducting comedic stuff, slapstick stuff that has Mickey Mousing in it, it's much harder because it's much more like conducting operatic recitative, right? Where it's like, you just got to be ready and go 2, 3. Oh my God, my hand is up. Now I have nowhere to go. What am I doing? It's actually conducting those comedy pictures is actually much harder than conducting the action pictures. The action pictures are pretty easy. Pretty easy, he says. That is somebody that has not conducted a movie in a couple of years.
We do have one question from Monica asking if you have any recommendations on working with youth musicians.
Any recommendations on working with youth musicians? Well, here's what I think about working with young musicians. I think it's really important to understand that young musicians aren't stupid. Mm-hmm. They just don't know this thing, and your job is to teach them this thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's also a really responsible way to introduce repertoire to people that haven't experienced it before without laying your kind of prejudgments and pre-evaluations on top of it. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. When I started at the Houston Symphony 14 years ago now, that was my first like real professional gig like that, and I had never done education concerts. And so they had me during the fall, my first fall there, instead of conducting the education concerts, they brought somebody else in that had been doing them and had me watch the person do them. And as anytime you watch anybody, you're going to learn an awful lot about what to do, and you're going to learn an awful lot about what not to do. But unless, as Jeremy will tell you, unless you're watching me. But I remember this because on this program, it was an education program, as I say. There was a little Schoenberg piece. And I don't remember what the purpose of the Schoenberg piece was on the program. But it was like, 90 seconds. And couldn't have been like, okay, I know it doesn't go 5-1 at the end, but like it wasn't going to bite you or anything. And I remember the guy, the conductor that they had brought in, presenting it to the kids like, now listen, I know where this is just something we got to get through now, and like everybody just sit tight and like hang on, and it was like that for me is such a missed opportunity, because to young musicians, Schoenberg isn't any stranger than Schubert. They don't know either. Mm-hmm. They don't know either of them. And it's kind of like teaching prejudice. It's kind of like teaching hate. It's like if you just give people the Schoenberg is just a thing you got to kind of get through. If that's the vibe that you get off, that you give off, then the issue becomes you have conditioned the 2,000 people that you have just shared that information with to view this music exactly like that. So I remember learning that lesson at age 28 very well, because I think it really matters how you introduce. It's kind of like interviewing for a job, like as far as I'm concerned, when you're interviewing for a job, your job is to take every single question and turn it into a positive. Mm-hmm. Every single one. And if you can't figure out a way to take every single piece on this program or this lesson or this whatever and paint it as a positive, then don't do the piece. It's for that exact reason that I don't conduct Peer Gynt. Because my mother told me if I don't have anything nice to say. No, that's terrible. The piece, Paragant, it's terrible.
Okay. I'm wondering what else you don't want to conduct.
No, that's the only one. That's really the only one. I mean, there's other things. I have my teacher, Kevin No, gave me a deep and abiding ambivalence toward Frederick Delius. So there's some of that. No, but listen, I really think that if you can't find some joy in whatever you're doing, and like I would say this too, you know, when I was early at the Houston Symphony, and I was doing a lot of pops shows, people would come up, you know, in the green room afterwards, whatever, meet the guest artist, meet me, and they would say, "You looked like you were having the time of your life up there tonight." And I would always say the same thing. Good. Mm-hmm. That's what it's supposed to look like. And it's not anybody's business whether I actually am. Do you think that every single Pops gig that I did was like the greatest time I've ever had? Of course not. But are we interested in selling tickets for the next gig so we can all keep doing what we're doing? Then excellent.
Mm-hmm. I think Kevin was commenting on your Delius comment or something around that. Extremely well put, Brett. Right on. # good teaching.
That's unfortunately it's the only thing that I remember. No, I mean you all are so lucky. I mean, I know you got to chat with Kevin earlier, but there is for my money, there's not a better conducting pedagogue in the country, and I'm glad that your audience has gotten to hear from him before, and I'm glad that they got to hear from him today, because I certainly wouldn't be where I am without Kevin's teaching.
You hear that, Kevin?
Yeah, all right. On we go.
# good teaching.
Yeah. # if he does say so himself.
Oh, he said it was about the accidental hate speech.
Got it.
Yeah. Awesome. So anything like super cool coming up in the future for you? Any gigs?
I mean, I have all sorts of things in the calendar. I can tell you what's in the calendar. I have no idea if any of it will happen. The next time I'm supposed to be on the podium is at the end of April with the River Oaks Chamber Orchestra down in Houston. That'll be my second time with them. They're wonderful. Mayanne, of course, has a great relationship. I know Mayanne from forever ago and Tito from forever ago. We were all League Fellows together. So I'm supposed to be with River Oaks Chamber Orchestra at the end of April. I'm supposed to be with the North Carolina Symphony in the middle of June. I'm supposed to be with the San Antonio Symphony. No, North Carolina's middle of May. San Antonio's beginning of June. And I think that's all I can talk about right now. But even those three things may disappear, as you know. So
yeah. Hopefully we're on the tail end of things disappearing.
I hope so. I don't think we're on the tail, kind of circling back to what I said before. I don't think we're on the tail end of having to change programs and having to, kind of modify on the fly. Mm-hmm. I also don't think that's such a bad thing, because frankly, having done this professionally for as many years as I have, one of the things that hamstrings us most is this insistence upon programming everything 17 years ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And we have been made to be a little more flexible right now. Yeah. And I hope that's one of I think there's a lot of really good things that have come away from this in terms of our field and how we deal with things. But I think that's one of the things that I really hope we stick with and hope we take away from all this.
Absolutely. Perfect. Anything else you'd like to plug, share with everybody watching?
I will second what Tito said. My old friend Tito, wear a mask, please. Get vaccinated when it's time to get vaccinated. I do like Tito said when it's your time, and I think he meant when it's your turn. If it's your time, I think the vaccine may be a little late. No, I would suggest, the only way that I'm releasing content right now is on my YouTube channel. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Brett Mitchell Conductor, just like most of my social, you can check out all sorts of good stuff there.
Awesome. youtube.com/Brett Mitchell Conductor.
That's the one.
And you've got a nice camera setup too, right? It looks professional.
See, it looks professional. And that's the secret. You know what the secret is? We film on 2 iPhone 11 Pros, but it's the light. We have a very good light. We purchased a light. So,
awesome.
Yes, for almost as much as each of the iPhones, which should tell you everything you need to know.
I have one more clarification from Kevin. He said, just to be clear, I was complimenting Brett on how great his comments about the responsibility of us when we introduce works to students. It's an awesome responsibility, and I've never heard it put better than Brett did. Right on.
Thank you. Well, that's kind, but I also get it from you. I get it from Kevin. I mean, we have such a responsibility to form opinions of these works and to become passionate about them. But that doesn't mean that you must lay your interpretation upon everyone that comes in contact with what you're doing. There's a great responsibility to help open people's eyes, but to let them do the looking.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to write that down.
Awesome. Well, Brett, thanks so much for making the time. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure, guys, and congratulations on 100 episodes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
For sure. Take care.
Alrighty. Well, that's the end of the live Q&A. Woo! It's so nice to see our old friends. Yeah, I should have scheduled Brett and Kevin and together. I should have scheduled whatever. This was a great time. Thanks again to everybody, our 5 conductors who joined us. Thanks to everybody in the comments for joining us. We're not quite done yet. Ankush is here. Hey, Ankush. Ankush was in episode 99. He's also part of the Everything conducting team, and he just popped in to say congratulations and best of luck on the next 100 episodes. Ankush, thank you for the congratulations. Thank you for joining us on Podium Time, and thank you for everything that you're doing with everything conducting. Go listen to episode 99. It is awesome. It is awesome, and it has nothing to do with me. It's all him. Hello again. At this point in the live stream, we showed the premiere of a new interview with Mayan Chen, music director of Chicago Sinfonietta, to talk about the Freeman Conducting Fellowship that we were raising money for, and plenty more. Instead of including that condensed interview here, I decided to cut it out since we will be sharing the full interview in the podcast feed as episode 101. So look out for that. And now back to the final section of episode 100. Alrighty, we're back. Let me get my microphone back down here. I forgot to turn my video off. I don't know. I finally realized I should put a sticky note up there. And then I also didn't mute my audio on the off chance that it would mute the video also. So I've just been tiptoeing around my apartment very quietly for the past half hour. I hope you all enjoyed that interview. Again, Mayan was an absolute delight to talk to. She was also so easy to talk to, and she came very prepared. She had her lists all set up, and it was an awesome interview. And we'll have the full list of her hidden gems and her advice for working with professional orchestras when the full interview comes out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm really sad that I couldn't be there. I know we had a scheduling conflict. She had to move the interview, but yeah, it's really fascinating. And that performance, who wouldn't want to be at that performance? Like, that sounds incredible.
Yeah, I really, it's the kind of, every time we have a guest talk about a really cool concert, I'm like, well, damn it, I wish I could have been.
Yeah, makes me kind of wish we had something a little bit more exciting around here when it came to our classical music.
So then you got to make it happen, Luke.
Well, I'm working on it.
So, if anyone's just joining us, this is Podium Time episode 100. We are celebrating 100 episodes and raising money for the Project Inclusion Freeman Conducting Fellowship through Chicago Sinfonietta. We just finished showing that brand new interview with Mayan Chen, the music director of the Chicago Sinfonietta. And now we are into closing thoughts. I've still got a lot of little videos and comments to share from our past guests, and I've got a dog who may be making a lot of noise in a second. Right next to my Ethernet cable. Okay. Yeah. And we're also going to be taking more Q&A. Hey, Daisy, stop, please. We're also going to be taking more Q&A for this last half hour. This is just our kind of closing. Let me stop her quick. There we go. So yeah, please feel free to post any more questions for us about Podium Time, about anything. I was really tempted when we were talking to Brett to bring up Star Wars, because you and I have had plenty of heated conversations about Star Wars. Brett knows his Star Wars as well, so I thought, but we didn't quite have the time to get into a discussion about anything.
20 minutes goes by real fast.
20 minutes goes by real fast, yeah. Let's see. You said concerts we wish we could have gone to, and my brain went to when we interviewed Peter Bay and we were talking about the Bernstein's Mass.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually got an email from him. He wasn't able to send a video in, but he sent us an email just before we started this morning, so I just wanted to share his message. Peter Bay says, "Congratulations to Podium Time Podcast on the occasion of its 100th episode. Jeremy has really put together something very special for conductors and all those who appreciate the art of conducting. It's been inspiring and informative to hear colleagues speak of their experiences, and I hope PTP lives a very long life. All the best, Peter." So I didn't have that one ahead of time, but I do have that now. And we've got still... So we had that first hour where we shared the videos and stuff and the comments. We've still got 11 videos to share from guests. I got way more videos. They just kept coming in from our past guests sending us congratulations. So we're going to share a couple more of those, couple more of these comments. Let's see who else we can share. Let's see. Let's share the ones that are on YouTube. Some of these, you people with your fancy iPhones. My computer doesn't like running those. Some of the .mov files will run on my computer, and some of them won't. So I had to upload some of them to YouTube. So let me screen share, and we can watch. This is from George Jackson, who's one of my favorite guests of this past year, episodes 81, 82, and 83.
Hi everyone, George Jackson here, wishing everybody at Podium Time Podcast a very, very happy 100 episode anniversary. Keep doing the amazing work you do, keep unraveling the mysteries of our strange and bizarre profession, and keep safe.
Alrighty. Well, I guess they're just going to play one after another, so let me go back and we'll just go through them. So that was George Jackson. They're on a YouTube playlist. Next is Matt Salvaggio from episode 63, Elevate Your Community Groups. This is a really great episode because Matt conducts a couple community groups, but he does commissions and stuff with them, which is why don't more people do that? And then after Matt is Miguel Hart-Bedoya. Miguel we had on very recently too. He was on episode 96, and he teaches, he's leading the new program at Omaha, Nebraska, where he's doing an undergraduate in conducting, and he teaches a summer course as well. So let's go check those out. Here, I'll restart Matt's video.
Hi, Jeremy and Luke. Congratulations on 100 episodes of Podium Time. It's been really great to watch the podcast grow over the last few years, and I'm so thankful to be a part of the Podium Time community. Sending you all my best from Cleveland, and congrats again on 100 episodes.
Thanks, Matt.
Hello, my name is Miguel Hart-Bedoya, and I want to congratulate Podium Time for reaching 100 podcast episodes this month. A particular thanks to Jeremy Cuevas and Luke Lyons for their effort and passion to produce this series of talks and interviews. This also gives us musicians an outlet to share our passion about conducting any music, more importantly, with a wide range of audiences from everywhere in the world. Thank you for doing this, and I hope that you will have success with many more hundreds of episodes.
Hundreds of episodes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Awesome. Yeah, so let me just mark that we've got those. I want to make sure we got so many. I want to make sure we get all of them in. Okay, perfect. Let's share. Do we have any questions for us in the comments? Anybody else still watching?
There's a few.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you've had a good time or just joining, and we are doing stuff. Here is. Let me find the beginning of my list. Here's from Christopher Zimmerman, who was on episode 54 with us. Don't Shout at the Orchestra. He says, "I'd like to send many heartfelt congratulations to Jeremy and his team at Podium Time Podcast. Rarely, if ever, have I enjoyed an interview of this length and depth, or more accurately, breadth. Jeremy's informal yet serious and curious manner made such wide discourse a pleasure to participate in. I applaud his manner and method, and his ability to engage meaningfully with all sorts of conductors, despite their different personalities, musical philosophies, and career paths. To another 100 episodes. Cheers, Chris Zimmerman." Another 100 is what we tend to hear. Somebody today said, let's go to 150. Was it Carolyn? Or was it Thomas? Somebody asked what we were doing for 150. I was like, everyone's saying 200. Wow. Alrighty. Let's see. Oh, since we just finished the video with Mayan, David Hatner, who was on episode 73.
That's my dog. Hold on. She wants inside. It's cold. Go ahead.
David Hatner, who was on episode 73, leads the Portland Youth Philharmonic, and Mayan was the music director there before, so he already made a donation last week when I spoke with him. David says, "Congratulations to Jeremy and Luke for 100 podcasts. They are having important conversations about music and the art and craft of conducting that are enlightening students and professionals. I'm looking forward to the next 100. Congratulations also to the incredible Mayan Chen, who is continuing to creatively expand the field of orchestral music. We should all support Project Inclusion." So thanks again, David. Again, David made a donation the other day. So grateful for him for that, and of course his support. I email David sometimes whenever I'm looking for recordings. That's what we talked about in this episode. He's the recording dude. He's got them all. Let's see. Let's read one more. That'll finish out this piece of paper for me. I can't put it away because I still have to read it. This is from episode 94 with David Leibowitz. It's Never About You. David was sent to us by Silas Huff, as were half of our podcast guests, because Silas is very good at connecting people with other people. So I'll read David's, and then we can share Silas's. So David says, "Dear Jeremy and everyone at Podium Time, congratulations on your 100th episode. The Podium Time podcast is a wonderful resource for conductors at all levels of their careers and music development. Like so many others, I've learned much from all the great guests you have. Repertoire courses, baton technique, auditioning, rehearsing, etc., etc. The list goes on. And you are a terrific interviewers. As I found out in my own session, you let your guests speak as you gently and expertly guide the conversation so that it hits on what conductors really need to know. Bravo. On a personal note, during this pandemic year when so many of us are unable to make music with others, it was great to be able to spend an hour or so discussing music and the art of conducting. Again, congratulations on your 100th podiversary, and here's to many more. All the best, from David Leibowitz."
Aw.
Yeah.
Podiversary.
Podiversary, I know, that was awesome, right? Okay, I'm just shuffling my papers here. And then, so Silas Huff was one of our early guests. And he's just become a very close friend of mine now.
And he also started a podcast of his own.
So it's a video series that he's running on YouTube and Facebook. It's called Coffee with the Maestro, and it is very, very nice. He says in his little clip he was inspired by us. He's just talking with conductors. And they're great little conversations. Each one's about a half hour. He had me on there pretty early to talk about the podcast. and some stuff. And Silas again has just become a very good friend, and he sends a lot of guests our way. David was only one of the most recent ones that he connected us with. So let me find that. And this one's just an audio clip. So I'm going to be sharing just the audio from my computer. Okay. Here we go.
Hey, Jeremy and Luke, this is Silas Huff from Coffee with the Maestro. And I want to congratulate you on this big milestone. 100 episodes is a big deal, and your show is fantastic. I love it, and I'm honored to have been a guest. And if you didn't know, it's part of the inspiration behind my show. So congratulations. Here's to many more, and I've got my coffee in my hand, so I'm taking a sip now. Cheers.
I love the little background music.
Yeah, that's the same music he uses for the show. Yeah, it's really good. He's got a lot of good conductors on there, and it's very casual. He's just sitting and having coffee with them. All right, so we do have some comments. Let me see what we've got. Rain, I don't know if I have clips of the Chicago Sinfonietta concerts, but since they've got that little 1-minute video with a whole bunch of clips, I bet they do. I think they have some stuff on their YouTube page, and I'm sure if you reached out to them, they would have a bit more information about that. That's a great question. Joanna, thanks so much for being here. Jacob as well, and Laura, thanks so much for the congratulations. 100 episodes. I've had a good time. What about you, Luke?
I've had a good time. Haven't learned much at all.
Oh no, nothing. Not anything. In fact, I know less than I did when we started.
But it kind of feels that way a little bit.
I'm like, wow.
You realize just how big the world is.
It's quite big. So let's share a couple more of these videos. Let's see. Look at all my files, everyone. This is Charles Gambetta. Charles was on episode 68 when we talked about Laban analysis, which I remember we recorded on February 15th because I had to run over to work. The Cynthia Erivo was playing at the symphony, and I had to cover because my boss wanted to go to the concert. So here's a clip with Charles.
Charles Gambetta here to congratulate Jeremy and Luke for reaching the 100th episode of Podium Time. Thank you both for providing me with the opportunity to share the Embodied Conducting Institute and my unique approach to conducting with your audience. You know, conducting can be at times a very lonely endeavor. We necessarily spend many hours in solitude with the scores we are studying as our only companions. As we continue to cope with the isolation and conditions resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, Podium Time has become even more important as a resource for conductors of all ages and backgrounds to stay connected and receive encouragement, advice, and artistic opinions from an impressive and growing list of guests. I encourage all of my students, conductor friends, and colleagues to tune in. Again, congratulations to Jeremy and Luke. Keep entertaining and enlightening us with the next 100 episodes. I look forward to that celebration with great anticipation.
Awesome. Thank you, Charles, for sending that in. You know what? While I've still got my screen here, let's knock out a couple more of these. This is from Robert DeBow, filmed by my first violin teacher, actually. My first violin teacher was Elena DeBow, who was Robert's wife.
Hello, my friends. I'm delighted to be part of this project and terribly honored to be among the many, many great conductors who are included in Podium Time. My congratulations to Jeremy and all of his colleagues who have made this an important part of our downtime with each other, where we can talk to each other frankly about certain issues, about score study, about rehearsal, about all the many things that happen with conducting. Here we are in my little studio here, where the Brain Trust is included up there, and a few of my really important mentors here. Gustav Meyer, of course, my first teacher, Ernest Tarasch, who would have had a big career had not Hitler intervened back in the 1930s in Munich. Daniel Barenboim and Marisa Bravanel, and my lovely wife there in the corner. So this is the studio, and working on a little Grieg right now, the overture in Autumn, beautiful piece. And most recently, a Cherubini overture that if you don't know, I would highly recommend. Les Abin Siraj, a wonderful, about 6-minute opera overture. For all of you out there, thank you for letting me be part of the whole deal, and congratulations to Jeremy and everybody, and let's just keep the ball rolling. Thanks.
Awesome. I listened to the Cherubini overture. It's really nice.
I don't think I've heard it before. Probably.
I had a tough time spelling it. I kept having to go back to the video when I was looking for it on Google. I was just like, I just can't get the French into my brain. I think it's French. We have a question in the comments. What are your 3 desert island pieces from one Mr. Benjamin Cuevas? And I'm going to guess that one of yours is Isle of the Dead by Rachmaninoff. What would your other 2 desert island pieces be? I'm assuming this is, well, could be the conductor just to listen to. We could do whatever you want.
Well, I mean,
while I think of mine.
Isle of the Dead for sure. See, it's tough because like I wanna say there's a Mahler in there, but at the same time, I really love Tyberg and how very Mahlerian his sound quality was to his music. So probably Tyberg Symphony No. 2. And Schmidt Symphony No. 4. Never gets old. Never. Just the whole thing. It's just incredible. Yeah. And if you really just sit down and listen to it, it says so much. I'm sure it says something different to every single person, but it's the way it's able to just encapsulate musical tension and that idea of things just getting more and more tense leading up to this incredible release of emotions and sound, and whew, I want to hear it performed live one day, but one day.
Why don't you put those 3 in the comments for anybody that wants to have a record of them? The Rachmaninoff, Tyberg, and Schmidt. Oh, you're on an iPad. Here, I'll type them.
Okay.
Tyberg what?
Symphony No. 2.
And SCHMITT?
Oh, SCHMI. I think it's like DT. Pretty sure.
Oh, that sounds great.
Making me question myself.
Okay, and Schmidt 4. My 3 desert island pieces. I decided when I was a very young musician that that the last piece I would want to hear before I died was Sibelius Symphony No. 2, and that ending still gets me. I mean, the whole symphony, just love it. And then I was staring at my scores trying to figure out what else. I think the Brahms Requiem is a pretty awesome monster of a piece that doesn't get... I mean, even though it's a Brahms, I still don't think it gets done enough. And I'm just like, what else? The only opera I've conducted is Magic Flute, and so I love Magic Flute. So maybe Magic Flute's the other one. I don't want to spend all day, but those are my 3. So we'll say Sibelius 2. What was the other one I said? Brahms Requiem and Magic Flute. All of it.
See, ever since you told me that about Sibelius 2, I have not looked at it the same way.
We were it was in a performance. It wasn't listening to it. It was in my youth orchestra. We played the 3rd and 4th movement, and I was just like, oh my god, that ending. And it's a plagal cadence, so I don't know, it seems to fit.
Well, and that's another good example of like just that musical buildup, then that incredible like moment where you're waiting and waiting for what you know is going to happen, and then when the release finally happens, it's just so satisfying.
Yeah. So we don't have any more questions quite yet. So while our remaining audience are coming up with more questions, thank you, dear brother Benjamin. We're gonna have to play some video games together soon. I got him Left 4 Dead, the zombie game, on for Christmas.
Well, he should listen to Isle of the Dead while he plays it.
Yeah, maybe. Hello. Oh, Daisy has finally arrived to start groaning under the table. Thanks for not interrupting us earlier. She's hungry. Okay, so let's get through some more of these messages. Here, let's share. Let's share this video from Markand Thacker.
Jeremy, 100 editions of Podium Time. I think you have an impressive, abiding curiosity, and your dedication to satisfying it has been not only impressive, but it has left for conductors of all stripes a really invaluable storehouse of information. So, my heartiest congratulations.
Awesome. Again, thanks to Markand. Markand runs a fantastic online course called Make Beautiful Music. I think he's in the middle of one right now, and I just suggested to Carlos, who's watching, this is Markand's book. Great philosophy on the flow and the energy in music, which, I mean, just really spoke to me when I met with him, and so I took his class, and he's going to be running a second, like a advanced class for people who have taken the first one first, so I'll be joining that. Yeah, so thanks so much to Markand.
Yeah, that was a really good interview too.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. And then we did an episode where I talked about his Make Beautiful Music class. So that wasn't too long ago. And that's a good one. If you want an overview of what he teaches, of course I can't teach it as well as he can, and it's my interpretation of what he teaches. But his this book and his harp quartet book are both very good. A message from Gary Lewis, who was in the second episode of Podium Time back with Larry Livingston, when that was one of our few in-person interviews after the Boulder Workshop, and he was again in episode 90. Gary says, "Congratulations on your 100th episode. What an amazing achievement. You have provided and continue to provide a wonderful service to our profession. I've been honored to visit with you on the podcast and look forward to listening to many more. Thank you for sharing ideas and inspiration to help us all grow and take pride in making great music. Congratulations again, and best wishes for continued success. Sincerely, Gary." Sincerely. Let me stop tripping over my tongue now. That page. Okay, so we've just got a couple more of these to share. Again, we got way more. I was expecting to be done with these in that first hour. To be totally done. I'm going to finish out the reading ones because they're almost done. My new friend Tigran Arkelian runs the Let's Talk Off the Podium podcast. And I mean, he's in the 140s, 150s. He zoomed past 100 episodes this year. Tigran says, "Jeremy and Luke, this is a big milestone. It's amazing to see what you've done over the past few years, consistently bringing wonderful guests to discuss important topics in conducting and music in general. Wishing you continued success as you bring more fascinating episodes to your listeners. Thanks for contributing, educating, and inspiring, Tigran." So thanks so much to Tigran. Go check out his podcast, Let's Talk Off the Podium. He's a conductor, but he's also talking about, he's talking to all sorts of musicians, and he's just reshared his interview with George Walker from 2017, just about a year after George Walker died. So go check that out. And then our final text to share is actually from a listener. We only got one comment from listeners on our Google form, and that was from Jose Faust, or Faust. Sorry, Jose. Jose says, love the show. Great insider information for conductors, especially new conductors. I love when you guys ask about a piece that is rarely played. I look forward to this question as I try to find the score and add it to my collection if it is accessible. So, a fellow hidden gem lover, Luke.
That's like my favorite part of music is finding more.
Well, check out the full version of the Mayan interview. She's got a great list of female composers that, some of which you've probably heard of, like Florence Price, and some of which I definitely have not. Alrighty, just a couple more of these video messages. Let's see. Oh, let's do this audio one while I'm thinking of it. We've got an audio message from Dr. Michael Mapp, which is who was on episode 40, Your Musical Opinion, and I actually wasn't there for that recording. Luke and Alex did that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I emailed Michael and I was like, "Hey, we haven't met, but you were on this podcast like 2 years ago," and he sent us this message.
Hello, this is Dr. Michael Mapp, the Director of Bands at New Mexico State University, and I would like to congratulate Jeremy and Luke on their 100th episode of Podium Time. I was extremely honored to be a guest a few years ago, and I am thrilled that this wonderful resource is still going strong. Cheers, and here's to another 100 wonderfully insightful and meaningful podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Mapp.
Yes.
All right, we are nearing our last call for questions before we sign off here in a couple minutes. We're also nearing our last call for, please, if you have not done so, please head over to chicagosinfonietta.org /donate and please make a contribution. We've also got a fundraiser on our Facebook page, and it is pinned in the comments. Please go support the conducting fellowship over there. 2 of our guests have gone through it. It's a really fantastic program, and their students get a lot out of it and really make a big dent in the field of classical music as well, because they have programs for arts administrators and orchestra players and chamber players and composers as well, all under project inclusion. But they also have a conducting fellowship, so that's part of why we're here today. All right, just a couple more. Speaking of donating to the conducting fellowship, here is a video from Rain Worthington. I don't know if Rain is still here with us. She definitely was earlier, and she did donate earlier and shared that with us. So here's a video from Rain.
Hey, Jeremy and Luke, I just wanted to say congratulations on your 100th episode of Podium Time podcast. It's a great resource and just a wonderful window into the world of conductors and sometimes composers. So I was very honored to be invited to be a guest on the podcast. So big thanks and congratulations. Keep going. Okay. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you again, Rain.
And if you are unfamiliar with her music, go look it up. She's written some really beautiful music. We were able to perform a couple pieces of hers at Missouri State with the orchestra there. So that was my introduction to her and her work. So if you're unfamiliar, just go look her up.
And if you are, if you're planning a concert for 9/11, the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is coming up this September. So if you're planning a concert, Rain does have a piece for a very reasonably sized orchestra called Shredding Glass that she shared with us in her interview. So please check that out if you're programming for a 9/11 program, because I think she said she was living in New York City at the time.
And I just looked it up, rainworthington.com.
Perfect, thank you. Awesome. Alrighty, just a couple more. We're nearing the end. Let's see. Here is. Let's see. This one may be either sideways or upside down. Let's see. Oh, good.
Hello, this is William LaRue Jones, and I'm extending my very best wishes and congratulations to Podium Time Podcast on their 100th episode. and for your new project that you're working on for Conductors of Inclusion with the Chicago Sinfonietta. All best wishes.
Awesome. That was another one that got turned upside down at some point when I was putting the files, and I opened it this morning and I was like, "Oh God, what do I do?" But I'm glad I fixed it. All right, and we have one more video. Do we have any questions in the comments? I know our audience has mostly popped out, but we've got some dedicated peeps still with us. I don't see anything. Alrighty. Nope. And we've got one video left to share, then we can have some closing thoughts, and then we are done with this fundraiser. Let's see, and the last one is from Tony Pierce, who is on the podcast on episode 29. Tony is the Chief Artistic Director of the Colorado Symphony.
Jeremy, I'm Tony Pierce, Chief Artistic Officer at the Colorado Symphony in Denver, and congratulations on making it to 100 podcast. And thank you for what you guys have done to support, the mission of live symphonic music and its importance, and why we've all got to keep fighting for it. So thanks for all that, and I hope to check back in once you guys have made it to 200 podcasts.
Alrighty. Perfect. And then you know what? We can go ahead. Let me pull up Mark Mandarano's.
One last time.
We got to see the Podium Time Blues. I liked that Dr. DeBow gave us a tour of his studio, but then, and I was like, oh, that's new. But then I got this video for Mark, and I was like, no way. He wrote us a song. Let me pull it up. Here we go. Awesome. And again, thanks again for everybody who joined us today.
Yes.
We went for a while, so I'm sure people came in and out. I don't know how people can stand to listen to us for an hour, and especially 4 hours. But oh yes, yeah. Rain just commented, thanks for the shout out, and yes, she was living in New York City and working at the site. Yeah. Alrighty, let me get this pulled back up, and Podium Time Blues. Here we go.
My friend Luke and Jeremy, they're really a blast. They started a little thing they call the podcast. I was the fourth one of it. Our outscore study, they wondered. And I can't believe it's about to be 100. Oh, look into me. Won't you give me more podium time? Stuck here any longer, I'm just about to
Congratulations to Luke and Jeremy on 100 episodes of Podium Time. That's the Podium Time Blues.
What a good way to end this.
I know, right? Oh God, stop sharing. Awesome. Well, if you're still here with us, thanks so much. Thanks so much for your support for the podcast, for the conducting fellowship. I've had a great time. I'm getting hungry though.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed these live Q&As, all of the sharing, the new interview with Mayanne, and again, just thanks so much to all the podcast guests who sent us congratulations. Everyone means so much, especially the Podium Time Blues, though. I mean, come on. I'm going to ask him if we can put that on the website. Alrighty. Well, we are 2 minutes over our stopping time, so we thank you for your patience and your continued listenership. And we're going to start scheduling soon. We're going to have a lot more guests coming on. I got an email from Carl Topolo about scheduling. Actually, he reached out. He sent me an email because he has a book coming out. So we'll get him on the phone for that. And Carl's been on the top of that list for a while. And everyone out there in podcast world, thanks so much. Let's see. Oh, Carlos is asking about the class. Carlos, you're going to want to go to, I think it's bso.org. Let me find that quick, and then I can post that for you. It's the BCO, excuse me. It's the Baltimore Chamber Orchestra. Let's see. It's not that either. Yeah, Mark Hand teaches a conducting workshop every summer and winter, and so online he's been teaching. Here, I'll put this in the chat. It's thebco.org/conducting. There it goes. And yeah, the Make Beautiful Music is the first program on there. And it's very affordable, absolutely so much worth the money. I mean, it's going to change how you think about not just conducting, but music. And then my mom says, congratulations on 100 episodes and a really great live event. Thanks, Mom. I'll give you a call tomorrow. Okay. Luke, any final thoughts?
I had a good time. We need to do this again.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. We can do a smaller live stream as well, because this was a lot of work, and it was 4 hours. But yeah, we'll have the replay up. We'll have Mayan's full interview coming out, and we are out of comments. So thank you all for joining us, and enjoy your Saturday night. Go have a delicious dinner. Crucera's bringing me Hot Pockets. She's stopping at the store, and she's like, what do you want? And I was like, oh, snap, what do I want? And so she's going to bring me some Hot Pockets.
Well, make sure there's no glass in them.
What? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, a month or two ago, they had to recall a whole bunch of them. It's okay.
Well, then they've already recalled all the glassy ones.
Yeah, there you go.
Then I'm safe.
Exactly. All right.
Bye-bye, everyone.